5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
All right, everybody.
All right, let's do this.
Podcast number 15, right? It's 15. It's 15.
It's 15.
Going down. We got Brett Dumas here, and we got Gina, and then we got Nathan in the corner over there on the new mic.
I'm over here. I'm here. Don't worry about it.
No camera there yet, but we're working on it. It's going to get there. So thank you for coming down and supporting the podcast today. We've been talking about it forever.
We have.
Here you are.
I'm happy to be here.
Well,
Thanks for having me on, Jeff.
Thank you very much. You're one of my, we asked you right in the beginning to come on. So here we are. We're ready to rock and roll. So let me get myself a little situated here. Oh, first, we should probably do the wheel first. Want to knock out the wheel?
Is that when you want to do it?
Let's knock out the wheel. Yeah.
Wait up to the end last time. I don't know if there's a right or wrong time.
Yeah,
so.
I don't know what it is. So this is our wheel, okay? And you and Nate are going to fill that out. So if you look at the wheel, we have some really inappropriate things on there.
Yes.
So you can do that if you want. You can, Brett put some real deep stuff on there last week.
I did.
It's up to you what you want to put on there. But what's going to end up happening is we can, if someone doesn't, have a subject they want to talk about or whatever, they can spin the wheel and we can talk about anything that's on that wheel. So
Okay.
Free and clear to write whatever you want. It's a free speech zone here.
Okay. So I'm gonna go with biggest fear.
I think we already have that on there.
What? Oh, we do.
Yeah, we do.
That's
What did you say?
fear.
Biggest
Your
fear.
Biggest fear. Gotcha.
Gosh, you already have such good ones on here, Jeff.
If you
That's
want,
what happens when you come late to the game.
hey,
Yeah.
if you want, you can hand it off to Nate for a second. Nate
All
can
right.
write it down, and then we can.
You want to write it down for me?
Yeah.
Maybe favorite place to travel.
That's a good one.
Yeah, very good.
After this is done, I'm definitely traveling some more. I'll tell you that right now. I'm sick and tired of being
Yeah,
home and work.
We're hoping things are going to open up a little bit because we're trying to plan like a road trip, like a national park road trip where we, like bang out some of the better national parks because we've visited a bunch. But like, you don't want to be on the road and have everything you drive by be closed or, know. So we're waiting to see what happens for the summer. But.
Yeah. Yeah, we're in the process of getting a camper right now and hopefully do some seasonal camping.
Yeah.
So we'll get there eventually. I think this summer is going to be the breaking point.
Yeah.
We
What are
can
you looking
finally-
at for seasonal?
I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
Definitely local because
Yep.
we have the dog, so we have to make sure that we can be here within about half an hour or so.
Yeah.
Because we can't take them all.
Yeah,
Well,
a lot of them have like a 2-dog restriction or a
Yeah.
size restriction. Yeah.
Yep. So rock, paper, scissors, who goes, and then we cycle the other ones out.
Yeah.
Are we almost done with that or what?
Yes,
What are we doing?
Best injury story.
Ooh,
okay.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be hilarious.
That's like comparing scars and the Jaws, that
Yes.
scene,
Yeah. Yeah. Like, have you ever had to have anything taken out at the ER?
Yes.
Rectally. This is really good wine tonight, bud. This is really good.
Thank you. I switched it up. I've been liking these bourbon barrel or whiskey barrel aged ones, and I haven't had this one. They didn't have the one I wanted, but it seems like that genre of wine has expanded since I last went to the liquor store. So I tried this one, and I'm not disappointed. I'll say that.
That's good. I'm not a big. I used to be a big whiskey fan, and I still am a little bit, but I got to be careful with the whole stomach issue. So we're good with that.
We're good.
Perfect. Thank you very much for doing that. So for the audience now, right? So we'll go right down the list. We have death,
bucket list,
embarrassing moment, defining moment, favorite place to travel. We got the best injury story, truth or dare, F, Marry, Kill, which will be one of my favorites.
Yes.
We have fears. I have a lot of them. Your favorite sex position. And then we did the bucket list already, so we're gonna that's gonna be a good one. So we might even be able to spin this today.
Oh, that'll be exciting. Maybe Maybe Nate will get a best injury story.
So, you are a stylist
Yes.
for a Choa in East Long Meadow.
Yes.
And you've been doing that for about 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about that. Whatever got you started in being a stylist.
I've always loved it since I was a kid. I was always playing with everybody in my family's hair, and to the point where it was almost annoying. I would cut my sister's hair in the closet. It's always been.
I'm sure you do a much better job now than you did.
I mean, I've had some training over the years.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Oh yeah, hopefully you haven't been winging it for 20 years.
She went to like some college, like online.
It's just been an absolute love, and I don't know what to do with myself when I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID, I hadn't taken a vacation in 9 years because
wow.
They always say that you don't do what you love. You don't need a vacation. So.
Yeah, I mean, I love what I do, but I need a vacation.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie,
too, but I still want to go places and not be at work. But really, you just were cool with going in every day and
every day. Yeah,
oh, that's wild.
Yeah, that's dedication, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good
Well, I really do believe when you go to work every day and you love what you do. I work a lot of hours, and sometimes it's 7 days a week. But I'll tell you what, I feel so much more like rooted and fulfilled in what I do because I get to help people all day long.
Right.
I mean, I'm a big person in service. Like I love to be of service. My friends will tell you that if you're like moving somewhere and you need help, call me. I'm that guy. I'll be right there.
Yeah.
I love to help people. I love to see people succeed because somebody did that for me years ago. We were talking about our time in retail, and somebody had promoted me out of the blue, kind of. And I went from making like $30,000 a year to six figures overnight. And that person, when they promoted me, said, "You're going to continue to do this for other people who deserve it." And so that was my mantra, And then when I finally understood, how I felt when I help somebody out, I think that's the key. I mean, we only get one shot at this, and and so we have a special guest on the other side. His name is Nate. And we'll talk about Nate in a second, but Nate's into MMA, and I'll tell you what, the true person that follows MMA and has that inner balance, you're very peaceful. Like I can tell that from the minute I met you, right?
I appreciate that.
But when you're not peaceful, there's the other side, but it's all done constructively.
Right.
So that's what I'm very fascinated with that. We'll talk about that in a minute. But same with you. You help people every day.
Yeah.
You absorb that person's bad day because you have all these conversations throughout the whole entire day. And I know how I feel sometimes when I come home from that. And my wife will always say, you're still talkative to everybody until you get home. And I just need that 10 minutes, 15 minutes just to decompress.
Right.
And when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, let's go.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I can see the enthusiasm in you, and I think that's why we get along so well.
I think so. I think that's the other big thing that keeps me in this profession for as long as it has, is that I've had relationships with my clients for 20 years. I've seen their kids grow up. I've been with them through grandkids and marriages and divorces. And, I joke around all the time with my clients and say, I've had a longer relationship with you than I've had any boyfriend. So, it's the best, most functional relationship I have. So it's great.
Yeah.
And I get to be creative, and it's an outlet. It's definitely an outlet.
I avoided going to barbers and stylists for so long because I used to always just shop, just wherever was convenient, I would go. And, there's always I'm not a big fan of small talk. Mm-hmm. I have to have a reason to talk about things or, a subject and not just random. And, that's the one thing I hated about going is this person I don't know is trying to have a conversation with me, and I'm not really interested in talking. I just want my hair cut, and then I found a barber, and he's absolutely fantastic. Now he's one of my best friends. And I obviously haven't been to him since March when everything got shut down, as you can see by looking at me. But now I look forward to going. Sometimes and a lot of people do this, they just go and hang out, set beers at the barbershop, and we all just hang out. And it's a great time. But it took me 40 something years to find someone, to form that
Yeah.
relationship where I look forward to going to the barber.
Right.
Now,
Right.
I can remember when I was a little, in my late teens or whatever. I went to where my grandfather got his hair done. Of course, we're all bald. The whole family's bald, right, at a certain point. But I started to really appreciate the hot shaves and just having that camaraderie with the guys, and a lot of them were older guys. So you went in there and, you felt this, I don't know, like this.
It's a level of trust.
Yeah. And like, I was one of the older guys. Like I was able to put my 2 cents in and get these guys to laugh and, this camaraderie. And we had some great times, man, I'll tell you. And my barber I have now, believe it or not, I still go. I get hot shaves, and he's a phenomenal guy right here in town. And we've known him for about 20 years, roughly, give or take. As a matter of fact, when my wife got hurt, the night she got her subarachnoid hemorrhage, he was here. And so that's how close, we can be. But I think that's important that you have that relationship with people, the right relationship, and people will remember you. We talked about what's your footprint in this world when you leave. And when I watched my father pass, I said, I watched his footprint. And I always say, what's my footprint going to be? And people will remember you, how they treat that one. They could be having a bad day. You come in to get your hair done.
Yep. And
you get to see how they act when they leave. And they're taking selfies, and they feel all beautiful and everything. I mean, that goes a long way. I see my wife and my daughter when they come home, and it's like they're on cloud 9 for days.
Right.
And my wallet is killing me at the end of that. But the fact that their self-esteem comes up,
it's worth it.
It's totally worth it. You know what I mean?
One of my good clients has said to me, "You look good, you feel good."
Yeah.
And it's true.
Yeah.
You look good, you feel good.
That immediate boost, like,
right.
I look fresh.
Right.
Everything's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be expensive, but, one thing we tell people is no box dye.
Oh,
don't do that. Do not do that.
God, no. I think we ran out of color remover in the first week coming back from COVID because everybody thought that our jobs were easy. They aren't. We just make it look easy.
Yeah, that's why I just let it go.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind, too, like I haven't seen him in years, right? So the last time I saw him, he was a store manager for the Sports Authority in the mall.
Okay.
And I was going there looking for paintball stuff because me and my boy were paintballing. And so he didn't have the beard, the long hair, anything like that. He looked like a typical store manager, very, tightened up and everything. And then when I saw him coming down the driveway the other day, I'm like, look at this, man.
Yeah.
Epic.
I don't deal with the public anymore. I don't have an image to upkeep. My company doesn't care what I look like, so just let it all go.
You remember the beard I had?
Oh, yeah.
I just looked like Santa Claus, though. It came out like this, like I had a picture of what I wanted to look like, and it totally came out the other way. And so Brittany's husband, Kenny, said to me one day, we're walking through the mall, and he goes, all right, dude, I'm going to tell you if no one else is telling you. Stop with the Santa Claus. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, go look in the mirror.
That's a true friend right there.
That's
a true friend.
It really is. So I took a selfie, and then I put it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Of, should I cut it? And the majority was like, yeah, that's enough. Like,
I'm sure I'd get the same. My wife would try to vote as many times as she could.
You did the best you could do. You tried it out. It's not working,
Yeah.
I mean, I could do the, but it all comes in white. So, the sick joke is I'm losing it on my head, then it grows on my back. Like, what the,
It just migrates down.
It's the middle of summer. Why are you wearing a sweater?
Then I'm having laser hair removal on my chest now. And that's not cheap.
Is it that hairy? Are you that hairy?
Yeah, I swear to God, like I'm a gorilla. They just shaved me down and taught me how to speak. Honest to God. Like one of my uncles, he's got the hair coming out of the T-shirt. Yeah. I said, someone's got to stop this. And my son will be the same way. He's getting that little crown on top of his head because he used to bust my ass about being bald. And I said, dude, you're going to be in the same boat. So
he's in his 20s now. Yeah.
26.
Yeah.
Yep. So I did pretty good though. I lasted, I probably went into my early 30s, maybe late 30s. Fairly decent. I had the comb down, and combing my hair with a pork chop for the most part. But I did it for a while. And then I finally just said, and guess who made me go bald? You'll never guess.
Brittany says it.
My barber.
Really?
He's
Yep.
like, it's time to let it go.
Yeah, I said, what do you think about my hair if I was bald? And he went right down the middle with the clippers.
Does that answer your question?
I was mortified. I grabbed the chair. I'm like, oh my God, what did you just do? And he goes, well, now we got to finish it. I was like, I couldn't even think. I'm like, oh, bastard.
And
I
now
almost
you're
started
thanking
crying.
him many years later, I'm assuming.
I always wonder, what I would look like with a full set of hair. Like Nate's got a pretty good.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
You
that.
know what I
Yeah.
mean?
When growing, it's the same thing. The COVID happened, and I was like, I'm not going to get my hair cut.
Yeah,
And my
just let
fiance
it
was
go.
like, just keep it. She loves it, and yeah, and here we are. I got this like long man bun now again. So
Oh, I'd
love
love
it,
to have
yeah.
a man bun.
I don't think I'm at man bun status yet. I might be close, but
You're getting there.
my wife will
you're
kill
almost
me if I do
there.
a man bun. My son does it, and he can pull it off because he's like 18. Like, he's young, and I'm pretty sure you're younger than I am, so you can pull it off. But like, there's just something about like a 45-year-old guy doing a man bun that like I wouldn't even respect myself at that point.
you gotta take it while you have it. I guess.
That's the trick, man. You take it when you can have it. It's like a blink of an eye. You wake up one morning, you look in the mirror, you're like, oh my God, when did
Yeah.
that happen?
I mean, I feel fortunate. I mean, like I saw pictures of my dad in his 20s, and he had less hair than I do now. So I'm like, all right, I'm still doing good. I got a 5 head. I graduated from the 4 head, but it's I still got a little bit left.
Still hanging on. It looks good.
It is. Thank
looks
you.
Good. It's flowing.
Yeah, it's from a stylist. That's
It
what
does. It is flowing. I told
Yeah.
you it was magnificent. And
Yeah.
I, for one, should know magnificent when I see it. So you also dabble in the MMA a little bit. Talk to me about that.
I do. So my dad actually trained when he was in Seychelles on his island growing up.
And where?
In Seychelles,
Where's that?
off the coast of Madagascar in the Indian Ocean.
Oh, wow. No kidding.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
So-
like way down there. And
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
off the southern.
I always thought Madagascar was just a
tip of-
cartoon, but apparently it's not.
No, there's a whole country, and they have penguins,
Do they really? Oh, my God. Who doesn't love a penguin, man? Like,
right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't think Africa and penguins. You don't think that?
Oh, so they're in Africa.
No, it's its own. No, it's its own.
Isn't it like off the coast?
Yeah,
is it-
Madagascar's
is
like
it-
off the
yeah.
coast.
Yeah,
Like, it's
Madagascar's
close,
an
but it's like
island
on the
off.
Is
the
it cold?
Like the southwestern tip of Africa is Madagascar, and then
Right.
Seychelles is just north of it, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is it
Yes.
cold?
No, it's right on the equator. It's beautiful all year round. They have a rainy season, but it's absolutely gorgeous.
I should really invest in a globe.
Scuba diving. Best scuba diving. You could, if you're an avid scuba diver, I recommend it.
I only
highly.
scuba dive in the fish tank right there. That's about as close as I come.
I'd like to see you dive into that. That's episode 16.
You know what I used to have, and it's up there somewhere. But I have the pineapple from SpongeBob, and I have something else up there. I don't know what it is, but from SpongeBob that I used to put inside the tank, and then one of my fish just did not like that in there, so I had to take it out. I would literally find it at the other end of the thing. He must have picked it up and like threw it in the back. I would always find it in the back. So I'm
Man.
like, all right, fine, I get the point. I'll take it out. So tell me more about your dad.
He went to school in seminary, and that's where he started training. And he wanted to get into medicine, so he went to Hawaii University for agriculture, and then switched to medicine, and came here for a vascular residency because at the time Bay State had the best vascular residency, and he stayed. He wanted to see snow and stayed. Met my mom, and here we are.
No kidding, huh?
Yeah.
Wow,
So
that's great.
when I need the triple bypass, I can talk to your dad because it's
Yeah.
gonna happen one of these days.
So he's still working at Bay State?
No, he's at Mercy now.
Yeah.
He's semi-retired. He does wound clinic and vascular clinic, and keeps him busy.
Yeah.
Teaching all the young dogs what to do.
Exactly.
Talk about being a mentor. That's
Yeah.
we need him in every profession. And
Yeah. Talk about a footprint, saving people's lives.
Right.
can you imagine? Like, I'll tell you the story real quick. I was going down from Warren to Brimfield on Brimfield Road, and I'm just hanging out. It's like a straight road, pretty much in the middle of nowhere. The cell phone doesn't even work. And this lady comes right in front of me and blows the stop sign in a brand new Lincoln car, sedan, brand spanking new. So I'm following her down the street, and she's weaving, coming in and out, and going in the opposite lane a couple times. And so I'm trying to dial 911 on my phone. It won't work. So I'm like, I have a Dodge. I had a Kia Soul at the time. So it's like middle of summer. It's a gorgeous day outside. Well, eventually she ends up going off the road and hitting a telephone pole.
Oh.
Rides up the telephone pole, barrel rolls onto her roof.
Jesus.
and then spins around. And I'm telling you right now, it just seemed like she spun down the street. It was weird. So I slammed my brakes on, not knowing, but the telephone pole she hit snapped. And I pulled right up next to that telephone pole, and it was literally like leaning almost on top of my car. I had no idea. So I jumped out of the car, had my phone in my hand, called 911. I don't realize it, but when you call 911, it actually will go through at a certain point. It works off a different frequency, apparently, than your normal cell phone. So now I'm trying to explain to the 911 operator that someone's hurt. I can't see her. I knew she was elderly when I saw her when she passed me. So I crawl in. Well, I go around the car in all the airbags. She had the door airbags and all that stuff, so I can't see anything. So I go in through the passenger side, trying to get through everything, and she was one of those hoarders. The car was filled with stuff. So I'm trying to rake everything out of the car, and there's glass everywhere. I'm wearing shorts and in a polo shirt for work. So I crawl in there, and now I can see her. And she's holding on to the seat. So apparently her butt was sticking out the window. So I finally get the guy on the phone where I'm trying to give it. I'm not good with that kind of stuff. Like, I'm telling her, don't go to the light. Other than that, I really can't help you. So I'm holding her hand and trying to get her through it. So then finally an off-duty paramedic came. So, or not off-duty. He was, what do you call those people when they're not full-time? They're
like volunteer?
Volunteer, yeah. So this guy shows up in a white ripped tank top on because he was doing yard work, slapping on gloves. He's like, all right, bro, get out. I got this. So next thing I know, everybody comes. So now I'm starting to kind of come down from that.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to like shake a little bit, and I'm worried about her because she's elderly. She told me she had nobody to call. We'll come to find out she was just bombed, and she had to be in her late 70s.
Wow.
And she apparently she got really hurt, really bad, and she was in the hospital. So, but that was like the closest I've come in a while to, person in that much of disarray. So I don't know how somebody can say, hey, I'm going to be a vascular surgeon, rip somebody's chest open or their legs. And you have to be
my dad is one of the most calm, sane men that you will ever meet in your entire life. I don't know how he does it, especially with me as a daughter, but he does. He just wakes up every day and
just goes and cuts people's chests open. Like it's no big deal.
He tells me all the time when I'm fired up, he'll say, well, you got 24 hours in a day, kid. You can spend it happy or sad. It's your choice.
Yeah. That is true, man. We, I have a bracelet on my wrist that I got from a dear friend of mine. And the bracelet says mindset. It has a scripture on here. And I'm very Eastern philosophy driven. So my parents were very religious, Christian. So it's kind of been like a weird struggle sometimes with that. But my most important thing on here says choice. When you get up in the morning, you have a choice every day. I could be that negative Nelly. I can be whatever, but if I choose to go out and I, help people, I feel better with that. And I don't get me wrong. I still have my frustrating days where I come home and I'm like, brr, you know what I mean? But if I take my time to meditate, like, and Nate, you can respect that, meditation. I actually meditate in my car a lot throughout the day. One of the things I practice is before I go into one of my multiple locations I have to go into, I sit in the car and I visualize what my conversations are going to be when I have to have a business meeting. And then I just let it go and I give it to my higher power. And then I walk in there and it's amazing how clear I am and how I'm focused on my customer. Yeah. I mean, it's a practice that I don't think I've mastered it all, but I'm a big person about throwing positive energy out in the world because I think we're totally, I guess we can have that conversation about heaven and earth and hell and all that kind of stuff.
But you emulate your surroundings. So like if you're surrounded by positivity, it's very hard to, have a negative attitude. So if you put like someone who has a, severe negative attitude, you put them in a room full of 5 people who just are nothing but uplifting. If that person leaves that room, then they, there might be some more serious issues there because, and I found that just in kind of, as my friends and I started having kids and you could automatically see like the laid back couples had more laid back kids. The high strung couples had more high strung kids.
Yeah.
Because like you automatically emulate the environment you're in. So if you exude positivity, that gets absorbed by by your surroundings and vice versa. So it's exactly what you're seeing. I'm no expert, but by my observations, like if you even if you're conveying a bad or negative message with a smile and an uplifting attitude, and you using maybe slightly different words, like it doesn't hit as hard. With limitations. There's some things that just are going to hit hard, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you definitely have that. Every time I see you, I don't think I've ever seen you once pissed off.
No, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to push me to that point to get mad.
Well, she went 9 years without a vacation. Was okay.
Could you imagine if she finally had enough? You'd be like, whoa. I'm out.
I don't know what went wrong, but after 9 years.
Can we get another little bit more wine there?
Oh, absolutely.
We have another bottle over there if we need to break into one.
I was joking with
That's good, thank you.
I was joking with my wife today because we were talking about last week's podcast. I'm like, I basically polished off a bottle of wine in an hour in front of camera. And she's like, well, at least it's not like it used to be when it would be like 3 bottles. And I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. I'm like, but I don't think I'm going to bring 3 bottles and have to drive home from Palmer. So
Right. You got to be careful, man. No reason to lose your, the great thing about technology now, you can grab an Uber. Do you know what I mean? Like if I would have had that back in the day, how else are you going to get the car home? I was like, if I had Uber, thank God I never got myself in any kind of trouble, but to have that option.
Yeah.
Because
knock on wood. We've all been pretty lucky. I can honestly say I've been pretty lucky that I've definitely made some not so wise decisions.
Yeah, it would have saved me from making some poor decisions too. So.
Yeah.
I love hearing people when they say poor decisions. Like, let's talk about that.
Listen, you're good. That's episode 16. After you dive in the tank.
One of these days we're going to do
decision
that.
Number 1, him diving in the tank.
Actually, I was going to ask Nate today to choke me out, but I don't think I'm going to ask him to do that anymore.
He'll do it in 2 seconds flat.
Oh man, no, I couldn't do that. He's too nice of a guy.
Please. I'll give you $20 later for saying that. What my best friend Kenny, we talk about all the time. Would you rather be tased or maced?
I feel like that's a tough one. I feel like maced.
Really?
Yeah, because at least you can just stick your face in a bucket of water. It kind of goes away.
Nobody craps himself when they're maced.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm definitely on board with you. I would take a mace any day, but he says the exact opposite. He said that he would take a tasing any other day than get maced.
Yeah.
You too?
I would go with the taser.
You go with the
I feel
taser?
like it would be like
Yeah.
more minor. Like I've been when I went to WVU for college, and they used to have the riots there. So like we win a big football game and everybody go out in the streets and party.
Yeah.
So we did that, and the police would shoot they were just the pepper grenades out, and even those weren't like as bad as like mace, like in your face, but when they explode right in front of you and it's all in your ear, like everyone's choking and like can't breathe, and you're trying, like no one can see, and it's horrible. Like and it lasts forever. It's like it just feels like an eternity. Whereas like I've never been tased, but I've seen people get tased, and it seems like it sucks for a little bit, but after that, it seems like people are like, oh, it's not that bad,
Yeah.
I just can't do with the burning eyes and the tearing and they can't breathe. Like, it's just too much, too many things, too many senses being affected. So,
What scares me is you see these big dudes, you get tased, and no matter how big you are, it's like a tree.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm afraid. Like I smash my head in the ground. That whole thing of tensing up like that.
Yeah.
I've been mildly electrocuted.
Have you
before.
really?
Yeah, just stupid mistakes while working, on electrical in the house. Or I was in electronics class in high school, so we actually used to do it for fun. Like, how much voltage can you take? And it's not horrible. Obviously, it's not 10,000 volts, or whatever tasers are these days. But I kind of mace myself on a weekly basis by chopping up hot peppers and rubbing my eyes like an idiot. So I think I'm kind of like building an immunity to that, because it's at least weekly. I'm chopping up jalapenos or habaneros, and then
If you before you leave today, I have some dried, freeze dried or dehydrated ghost peppers that my dad made before he passed. So I still have them.
Oh yeah. I actually just ordered some ghost pepper
Did
seeds.
you really? Oh, the last time I had that, I'm like, oh my God, I just made the biggest bad decision of my life.
Yeah, it's horrible. You you can't just eat them. You can use them to cook, but
yeah, well, I stick my finger in there and dipped it in my mouth, and I like 2 seconds later, I was like, oh my God, trying to, no matter what, like bread, milk, nothing was helping. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be in the emergency room. Something bad's going to happen. Like I'll throw up my stomach or something.
So completely off subject, but there's a special on Netflix it's about weird competitions. Like one's about like something they do in England where they chase a wheel of cheese down the hill. But there's one about like pepper eaters, and the guy who invented the Carolina Reaper, who bred it, he held his own pepper eating championship. And like all these people came from across the world who were like used to eating, and like the Reaper is always the top pepper. Well, what he did is he bred all the preceding peppers, like jalapeno. He bred it with the Reaper, so it was a jalapeno Reaper. So like everything these people ate was like, oh, this is just a jalapeno. Oh no, it's not a jalapeno. And then the Reaper was like the middle one. He had 5 other peppers.
Oh my
that
God!
had never even been tested or even seen or tasted by anyone but himself, and they were like off the charts. And people
see, that's
didn't take
fuckery.
it well.
That's fuckery right there. 'Cause
esophagus
you shouldn't be
left
messing around
after
with
that? Like, do you have a stomach after that?
There's some guy. They said he literally doesn't feel pain. I don't know if that means like he has like some kind of nerve damage. But this guy was just eating these peppers like they were candy.
Oh man!
And he's the guy who won, and he didn't even look like he broke a sweat. It was I watched it twice because I'm just like I like hot food.
And where's this on again?
It's on Netflix. If I think of it, I'll text you like the name of it because it's in my like recently watched.
Yeah,
or
you
whatever.
gotta.
But it's like weird championships or best of something and I've only watched just the 2 episodes, the weird cheese wheel thing, which was pretty good too. I'll admit it. There's some psychopaths that run down the 60-degree hill and try to make it down first, and like they break their collarbones and stuff and get up and keep running.
Well, that's my luck. By the time I got to the bottom, I'd be a quadriplegic.
Do you get the cheese at the end?
You do. You get the wheel of cheese.
I
Like,
mean,
how big is this wheel of cheese?
You want the wheel of cheese, though.
Yeah,
it's rolled down the hill in the dirt.
Well, it's like a legit wheel of cheese, so it's like waxed, or it's coated in wax and then like in cheesecloth and stuff. And they hold it up, and then like in one of the interviews they show them like eating it afterwards. I don't know. I mean, it's like a big wheel of cheese. I mean, I don't know who needs that much cheese.
Give me like a standard size. Like what are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be 16, 18. It's like a wheel of cheese.
God. Now, is it a running head start?
Well,
and then whip the cheese, or is it?
So the wheel of cheese actually goes down the hill at like 45 miles an hour. Oh. So you're not supposed to beat the wheel of cheese. It's just symbolic. You just have to be the first one across the finish line. And these people, I mean, this is steep and there's ruts. It's not a smooth hill. And they step in these ruts. And this one girl's like, she's like a 4-time champion. And she's like, yeah,
4-time champion.
She's like, second time. She's like, I came in here after partying, didn't even sleep. I just like ran down the hill. And she's like tumbled and like got up like it was no big deal and ran across the finish line. I'm like, yeah, no. But we added it to the bucket list that we want to go watch the crazy people chase the cheese, but I'm never gonna, take part in it. But yeah, I haven't watched any more episodes. I'm interested in it.
What about like running with the bulls?
Oh,
that's another. That's another like
definitely.
I should never have done that decision. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You see some of those guys get gored.
Yeah.
Oh.
Do you know Eric Risley?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did it.
Did he really?
Yeah. He did the Pamplona. Yeah, he did the running of the bulls.
God,
I'll stand on a balcony and watch everybody
I'd watch.
run.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Hola, or whatever. Oh yeah, whatever they do there. Just see ya. Not me.
Although that is probably the only time I would ever run would be if I'm being chased.
Yeah.
Specifically by a bull.
Especially by a bull. Yeah. I would run too, and I don't run at
a,
all.
a bull's a good motivator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
maybe that's what I need.
There's like gunshots, stabbing. Like if someone's gonna stab you, that's a good motivator to run. And then bulls.
Yeah.
Right.
That's like, I mean, you could maybe start a service. Like, I'll chase you with a knife or, hire you with and we'll get you running.
Imagine trying to train down the street for that. You got some bull running behind you. People are like, what are you doing? Bull? I'm running with the bulls training. Don't mind me.
Yeah, don't mind the bull. He's on my team.
So did your dad ever want you to become a doctor?
Oh, he definitely wanted me to become, not so much a doctor, but just be in medicine, just be in the medical field. And it's not for me.
No.
I don't have the stomach for it.
Do you have any brothers and sisters at all?
Yes.
Are they in the medical field at all?
My oldest sister is a nurse. My mom was a nurse.
Wow.
My grandmother was a nurse. My aunt was a nurse. A lot of medical professionals in my family.
So is that how your parents met?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They met at Bay State.
We're just playing footsies right there.
Yeah, right.
Camera can't see it, but we're.
But yeah, that's he wanted to see snow. He met my mom and never left. I yell at him all the time. He went to college in Hawaii. Why didn't you bring us back, Dad?
Yeah.
Look at me. I look best on an island.
Bastard. Yeah. I didn't want snow. No one asked me if I wanted snow. My parents used to live in South Carolina before my father found out he was dying. They moved back up here.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where I want, how my mom was down there. Like it was going to be this whole thing to sell the house and do all this stuff. What I'm thinking now is like, we should have just, went down there and stayed down there. It's nice to have my mom back up here.
Right.
But it was nice to have that place where we could go where it was warm. So I'm not a big snow fan. I
hate the snow.
My dad's looking up on a condo down there now. Like he's down there with my uncle staying in a condo. He's like, I could move down here. And, we talked about last episode, my mom passed and, so he's trying to figure things out. And, I'm kind of looking forward to it. Like we went down to visit him a couple weeks ago, like, cause this is his first Christmas without my mom and without spending any time with his family. So,
right.
We made a weekend trip down there just to go visit him. We surprised him. And he didn't even know we were coming. I just told him that a package was being delivered. And then I called him when we were in front of the house, in front of the condo. I'm like, hey, I just got a notification your package got delivered. He's like, oh, we didn't hear anything. I'm like, yeah, just go check the doorstep. And we're all standing out there. But either way, now
That's
he's looking,
cool.
and I'm like, this is really cool. Like,
That's awesome.
Because it's kind of kill two birds with one stone. Like, go visit my father if he's down there and escape the snow when needed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I just want a trip to California, to San Diego.
Oh.
The end of April. I don't know if I'm going to go or not because there's a lot of protocols to get me there. And then I have to room with somebody who I don't know. And so I'm hoping that they let me take my wife because we haven't been anywhere either.
Right.
8 years ago, we went to Miami for my buddy's wedding. But for her to be in an airport and travel with her brain injury, it's like next to impossible.
Right.
It was, and she did such a great job. I mean, she tried, but it was very emotional to get her there and then come back. And
so is it stuff for her mentally, like to just go through all that, or?
Yeah. So light, sound, movement.
Yeah.
Her brain can't process all that at one time. So the loudness of the airport, the hustle and the bustle, plus the anxiety of flying.
Anyway.
That time I was not a good flyer, and I really latched onto her. Now I've flown so many times since I've taken this job. It's like I'm asleep before I even hit the air.
Yeah.
But we need to go somewhere. We haven't been anywhere in 8 years, and we just had our 20th wedding anniversary last year.
Wow,
so
congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
You never hear that anymore. 20 years. That's
listen,
amazing.
We split up for a while once for a long time, and we made it work again. The biggest thing I can say is what we learned now, but it's taken us all this time to get here, is I'm not perfect. I have my flaws. I am not easy to live with. I'm a type A personality. I like my things like upstairs. My remotes are like right here. This is the way I like things. Mm-hmm. My car's trash because I drive in it all day. It's weird. But if I go in someone else's car that's like that, I get wigged out. It doesn't make any sense.
It's your mess.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Mess.
But I've learned to give someone else some grace. And we went through therapy, which was the greatest thing. That's the second time I went through therapy. I went through therapy years ago. So I used to like to fight, but not in a good way. I used to literally walk into a bar, pick out the biggest guy at the bar, and go after him. That's how crazy, that's how stupid I was. If my friends got into a fight, I was the first one at the front of the line. And I said, I can't be like this. This is not healthy. I'm not being constructive, and I'm really, at the end of the day, I wasn't being the person I was supposed to be. Like, I wasn't right with me. So I went and got help, and I learned how to work through that kind of stuff. But I had a kind of a rough childhood. Mm-hmm. I didn't have any good mentors until I got a little bit older. So those guys, like Carl and my buddy Kenny and Chris Bordeaux and all those guys, they kind of corralled me a little bit more. But I could have been one of those guys. Like, if I would have hung out with the old school guys I would have been dead, definitely. Or worst case, in prison the rest of my life. But I learned I can't be that way, and so therapy helped me get through that. And then I went through therapy with my wife. And one of the biggest things I learned is I'm not perfect at doing something. So if I'm not really, really good at it, I should hand it off to her. Mm-hmm. And then she can handle that. Like, she's not really good at saving money. I am. So and it took us a long time to get there, but then she finally said, I can't do it anymore. Here's my here it is. And then, you know, I took over that. I took over paying the bills. Once we finally got to that point, things started to be better.
You
And
got that rhythm.
yeah, and she really does try every day. I mean, even with her brain injury, to clean the house today was a chore, you know, and
Yeah.
now she's upstairs sleeping. And you got here at 6, she was already in bed.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've learned to know that if my expectation of you is to be up here, that's not attainable. And
Right.
and what I'm doing is I'm setting you up for something you don't deserve, and I'm setting myself up for failure. You know what I mean? So if I learn how to back off a little bit and say I shouldn't be speaking to you like that or acting like that, things become a lot more clear. And don't get me wrong, like I get, because she has a brain injury, like she'll do the same thing over and over and over and over again. And sometimes I gotta go, all right, I can't say anything, but sometimes I don't listen to myself and I'll be snappy. I have to make sure that I go back to her and apologize that I should not have said that. That was wrong. And she'll always say, it's okay. But I always say it's not okay. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But I think that's the key.
It takes a big person to know that and to see that in themselves,
Yeah.
to go back and apologize, because I guess, you know, it's humbling.
Yeah.
It's humbling.
Yeah.
My wife has a
And-
chalkboard. She keeps track of how many times I've admitted I was wrong. I think we're at like 5. So,
Dude, they're like elephants, man. They don't forget.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you got to be very careful.
Did you just admit you're wrong? Well, I said I was mistaken. That's different.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy. It's easy to get off track. It's easy to look at somebody else and go, oh, I'd be much more happy with them. You know, it's very
Right.
easy to do those things. And, you know, I saw my grandparents. My grandparents were married forever and a day. And I talked to people. So what I did in my last job, I dealt with a lot of people from the Middle East. So they were a lot of arranged marriages. And I used to always, like, one guy, him and his wife were just, they were like so in love. And I said to him, how did you guys make it work? And he's like, this is what we do. Like, I work, she takes care of the kids, you know, all that kind of stuff. Those things are not my worry. This is my worry where I'm here. So when we get home, we're on equal playing field. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I really think it's just giving up that, like you said, humbling. I love that word. As a matter of fact, so what I do when I do these podcasts is I find words and phrases that hit me and I write them down. So I actually have another book that I have that I transfer all that stuff to, and I read that. So every morning when I get up, I do my 10 things I'm thankful for. And then I read my father's Bible pretty often because I get to see all the notes he wrote and stuff. Even though I'm not religious in that way, I love to kind of
Look at his insight. See how
Yeah.
he's looking at it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
So humbling is to be humble.
Yeah.
I
I can honestly say that's the biggest thing, one of the best life lessons that my father has taught me. You know, he's very well, it's very easy to get wrapped up in yourself. And he always said, you are no better than the person picking up the garbage on the side of the road. So don't act like it,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yep.
in fact, they're probably making more than you. So,
Yeah, in a lot of cases. Yeah. Yeah, and they got a pension. And,
right.
Yeah. It's amazing.
You're no better than anybody else.
So yeah, your father seems like he's a real nice guy. You should ask him
Yeah.
if he wants to come on the podcast. I have tons of questions already. Like I have a friend that before he became a cop, he was worked as someone doing autopsies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and
That's-
that was crazy to hear him
If
say.
I-
You know, like
Pathologist.
If I could
Is
do
it-
it again, that's what I would do.
Oh.
That would be my forte into the medical field, would be autopsies.
so next time you're hanging out with her, just remember,
Yeah,
you know,
I'll
is she
keep-
trying
I'll
to?
keep it in mind? Yeah.
You see her pick up a knife, I would be like, whoa, one eye open.
I mean, I do cut things daily.
That's true. That is
Would
true.
be a knife. It'd be scissors.
That's true. That's true.
I have gotten near Nate's head with scissors.
Oh
He
yeah,
has
she has,
stressed
she
it.
has, and she did a great job. Honestly, everything's still here, like the arteries still work, so I'm not too concerned, and I look great, so I'm not too concerned about it. But
You lived another day to tell the tale.
yeah, exactly.
That's important.
But I mean, technically, if you want a really interesting story with her, when I actually first met her, really actually got to connect with her was when we were. My coach had us doing drills, and she kicked me right in the nads.
Did she really?
Yeah. He was like, "Oh, throw like a jab, like inside leg kick." She's like, "Okay." She like threw it, and then she kicked me straight in the nads, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And it was honestly, I don't usually wear a cup during sparring, which is a very strange thing, and I've gotten kicked hard. Probably one of the hardest I've ever been kicked. Just all foot, boom, horrible.
Yeah,
No,
down.
inside leg.
Yeah, yeah. I was down for the count, honestly. And usually it doesn't. I'm like, okay, it sucks, but no, I was like, yeah.
She goes like that. No.
So I'm not too concerned about the scissors because honestly, she hit me where it was worst. I think. I'd rather take the scissors.
Yeah, just stab me.
Yeah, just stab me next
We're
time,
still
please.
friends
Yeah,
to
we're
this
still
day.
friends.
Well, that's
Yeah.
important, you know.
Yeah.
I
If you
feel
can,
like
yeah.
that sparked our friendship.
It's like a
I
bonding
would say
moment.
so. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's always funny. She'd always apologize every time. I'm like, it's fine. Like I'm still alive, and hopefully one day I'll have kids. But I mean, for now, like I'm alive. You know,
I mean, after you've been kicked in the nuts, it's all uphill from there.
Yeah.
It's
This
like-
is true.
This is the start of a great friendship.
just the thought of getting kicked in the nuts like that. My stomach hurts a little bit. I'm slightly nauseous right now. I should probably stop drinking. I've only got fired in the nuts for like one good time, and it was on a fire hydrant. So I'm going down Montgomery Street in Chicopee on my bike when I was a kid, and I hit that fire hydrant because it was in the middle of the night. We were supposed to be home already. I don't know where we were, but it was me and Chris Bordeaux. You don't know Chris,
Yeah.
but he does. And we were going down this. So Montgomery Street in Chicopee is like this, right? We're going down. All of a sudden, I don't see this thing. Boom. And I came right to the front of the bike. My nuts hit the handlebar part, and then I went forward and somehow hit him again on the fire hydrant.
Oh.
And I tumbled down the hill. Well, some lady who was smoking a cigarette out in her steps runs down there. I am writhing in pain, right? And she ended up kind of helping me to my bike, and I ended up hobbling home.
Oh.
And I got a good nut story for you since we're sharing.
I got one to follow that up too.
I actually had my testicles switch.
No.
So I was in the hospital when I was a kid for that, to a point where they thought they were going to have to do surgery to get them to go the other way. I mean, I remember I was in school, and I just couldn't sit down. And my teacher's like, I was in Mrs. Telek's class in Barrie.
Yeah.
Couldn't sit down. And the next thing you know, I'm just getting sore. So I went and told her, I'm like, teacher, something's wrong. And she's like, what do you mean, what's wrong? So I'm like, and she's like, well, I don't know anything about that. So down to the nurses, and I showed the nurse, and she's like, yeah, this isn't good. Like, you're swelling. So I ended up going to the doctors and then right to the hospital. And I was in the hospital for quite a while, like about a week or so.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And it was a big deal. And I remember all these people were coming in, checking out, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, all
How old
right.
were you when that happened?
I was like 4th grade, 5th grade.
Yeah,
So-
all these people coming in.
Yeah, because it was it's kind of an anomaly. It doesn't
Yeah.
really happen very often. So they were like curious how it happened. I think it happened because I was wrestling with my buddies the day before,
Mm-hmm.
and everything's a shot to the nuts, or So I think that's how I got him. I don't think anybody grabbed
Well, I
him.
feel
I'm
like-
pretty sure.
I feel like Nate's still safe.
I was just saying, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it is. I don't really know, but
Just I'm sorry to ruin the flow. I really have to use the bathroom. Is there any way I could just like run and do that real
Yeah.
quick?
So
somewhere?
go up to the 2nd floor.
Okay.
Go out that door
Okay.
right there. Go down the hallway. Hit the stairs, and it's on your left.
Okay, I will.
Don't go to the door in front because I have a very vicious dog that will.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we hear screaming, we know Nate met the dog.
Nate's got the dog in an armbar.
I had a bike accident too that got me good.
Did you really?
I used to deliver newspapers on my street, and my street's a hill and everything. And it was winter, but it snowed, but it was mostly melted, but some ice. And I was riding my bike, and I was like, oh, I can cut right down this person's front yard. It was like a hill, and I went down their front yard, and on the pavement, once I got off the curb, it was a sheet of ice, and I hit it, and my wheel went like this,
Oh.
and I just went bang like that, and I was in pain for like weeks.
Wow.
It was bad. Like,
My son impaled his leg with the brake on the bike.
oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, right through his leg. Right. So I get a phone
Man.
call. I'm at work. I'm working for Michael's at the time. His mother calls me freaking out. Because apparently he just came home, sat on the couch, and he was white as a ghost. And she's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Of course, my kid's like, nothing. She sees blood running down his pants. So I rush him to the emergency room. I get there. Can you find it?
Second floor.
Second floor.
yeah,
Yep.
it's
So
like
go
right
up those
upstairs.
stairs there,
Yeah.
and then as you come up the stairs, open the door, bang a left. There's a hallway right there. Go down that hallway. You'll see a set of stairs on your left. Go up those stairs. So you're going up 2 flights of stairs.
2 flights. Okay.
Yep.
And it's like right at the top of the stairs.
So I get there, and the doctor comes out and gets me. And this is a funny guy, right? So he's a big, tall guy. I don't know what country he was from, but he had fingers on him. I swear, like they were out to here. He had big hands. So he brings me over to Justin, and he goes, your son's very lucky today. And I said, why is that? He just punctured his leg. He's like, no. If that end of the bike thing wasn't bulbous at the end, he probably would have went through his femoral artery.
Oh.
Yeah.
He goes, you want to feel it? I go, no. And he sticks his finger. He goes, he's numb. He's not going to feel anything. He sticks his finger inside my kid's leg.
And the artery's right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he goes, I can feel his arteries just underneath.
Yeah.
His son's very lucky today.
Wow.
And I was just like, oh, boy.
Yeah. I mean, I probably would have passed out at that point.
Yeah, it was not good. Like, I don't like to see that kind of stuff. I'm not good with blood.
And
So.
growing up, in a medical household, my dad would watch surgical videos all the time.
Right when you were there?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
But we
those are
only had one TV. My parents did not believe in TV. We didn't have a TV till I was like 12.
Wow.
Yeah. My dad was very old school Chinese like that. We had National Geographic and 4.5 Acres, and he said, "Get outside."
I've watched
And
some
so
of
I
those
can-
documentaries are gross.
Yeah. It doesn't, watching it on TV doesn't bother me,
Yeah.
And all those like gory horror movies, that stuff doesn't bother me because he ruined those things. That's not how blood spatter sprays. That's not it. That's not what would happen. So that stuff doesn't bother me. But in person,
Yeah.
the smells.
Shows don't bother me. My wife,
Yeah.
our third child, he was an emergency C-section because he was all wrapped up in the umbilical cord, and so she was in labor for I don't know what it was. It was like 12 hours, and there was no progression. So they're like, we got to figure this out. Like he's not moving. So they rushed her in to get him out, and they invited me in to be like on this side of the curtain.
Yeah.
But you could still kind of half see things. You could see like
You're popping your head over.
and you could see like the blood, the vacuums and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, no, I gotta go. Like I'll see you when you're done.
Yeah.
And my sister-in-law, God bless her, she's in there like snapping pictures. Like we have like a photo album of like my wife's intestines and stuff. I'm like, no, I had to step out of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
And he's no dog bites or anything either.
No, he's
Yeah,
good.
I'm good. I
He's
heard
good.
I heard a little dog. I think I heard a dog start barking a little bit, and I was like, oh gosh. But
Yeah. We're an animal rescue, and we've been doing that for about 9 years. And so one of them we took as a favor for somebody, and if anybody else had her, they probably put her down. But we were really good about knowing her triggers and all that kind of stuff. So she stays in that room when we have company over, and she has the whole bedroom to herself, and my wife's up there with her. But we know better than put her in a position where we're gonna have to put her down. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
some people don't get that. You know what I mean? And then you wonder why they have a dog bite. So the other 3 are perfectly fine to be around people. They're people. You
Yeah.
see them, but So whatever started the MMA? How'd you get into that again?
So I'm in the middle of 5, so you can only imagine how much I got tormented. And my dad decided to get me a punching bag and put it in the cellar and said, stop beating up your siblings. And
So what's the
put
dynamic?
bag.
How many brothers and sisters? Like
2 older sisters, a younger sister, and a younger brother.
so mostly women.
That poor bastard at the end.
Yes.
God.
Poor kid had to wear a tampon to fit in.
Oh my God! Don't do that. I almost just spit wine all over my computer. Holy shit! That would have been a costly mistake. Yeah, I should probably close this for a little while.
No, my brother's a good sport. He's a good kid. He definitely had some.
What's
some
his name?
challenges. Jimmy.
Jimmy. Shout out to Jimmy.
Yeah.
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 So, and I loved it, and just growing up, like, you go through stuff and trials and tribulations of life, and you need to go to therapy and spend thousands and thousands in therapy, and it just never worked for me. And the only thing that always worked was hitting the bag. So, at 35, I was like, I need to do something for myself. I need to, because I don't take vacation, clearly.
Yeah.
So I looked into, MMA. I started out boxing because my grandfather was a boxer as well. And I started at a small boxing school in Agawam. And I found that I wasn't really being challenged enough there. So I did some more research, and I found Fighting Arts Academy, and that's where I met Jer and Nate and a few of the other coaches. And Maddie, I love Maddie. She's my girl. And, you know, what was it? Probably like my second week there, I kicked you in the nuts. I think it was.
Maybe, yeah. I think I just met
Just
you.
went in guns blazing.
Yeah.
You
Right
seem
there.
cool.
So next time,
Boom, right in the nuts.
Here.
next time they're signing up partners, Nate's like, nope, fuck that.
Yeah.
I don't want anything to do with that.
He even let me use his shin guards after that because I was not prepared for class.
Oh,
I didn't know I was going to have shin guards. But he was like, you know what? I'm even going to give you a weapon to kick me. That's how good of a guy he is.
It's like
That's how dedicated.
Your shin alone is not going to be hard enough. Put these on.
Yeah.
I'm slightly traumatized every time now when I hold for people. I always have like one hand out, and I'll always be like, I'll make sure I'll hold the hands, and when the kick's coming, doesn't matter if it's outside or inside. I'm down. Just want to make sure I'm covered, you know.
So when she gets close to you, kind of like just,
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah.
It's like a nervous twitch now.
my son used to do that. I used to smack him in the head all the time when he was a kid, right? You know, just
Yeah.
gingerly, like, and he got to a point where he walked by me and he'd be like, just in case. I'm like, do I really do that often? You know what I mean? But it's
I don't.
funny.
Yeah, I don't think you've held pad for me since. No.
No.
No. No.
His balls thank him.
Yeah. So that's I love it. I love it. I love the school. It's become a second family.
Sure.
You know.
Yep.
And it's definitely helps with stress relief, dealing with clients, because you know dealing with people can be stressful.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sure is.
Yeah. As much as I love my job, it definitely has its days. You know.
So on a percentage basis, like how many clients do you look forward to seeing versus like?
Oh, I've never actually thought about that. There's definitely. I mean, I would say out of 3 out of the 4 days that I work, I look forward to going into it. I mean, it seems to be there's at least one day a month where I get all my challenging clients.
Yeah. So you look at
In one day.
At the list and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
This will be a 3-class week.
Yeah. So what kind of advice can you give to the people out there watching who they're about to go to see a stylist? What are some of the things they should do in advance to help you help them?
Definitely know what you want, but be open to listening to advice. You may have an idea of what you think is going to work for you. And, you know, being a stylist, I look at your face. There's not just, oh, well, I'm just going to take this color and slap it on your head. I'm looking at your face shape. I'm looking at your hair itself, the quality of it. You may have this idea in your head, but it may not be good for you, you know? But definitely have an idea of what you think you want. Like maybe look at some pictures and stuff like that. Having an open mind is key to when you see a stylist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the process too, like going from a level 1 or 2 to a blonde,
Right.
you know, like my wife, I've tried to get her to go blonde since we met, literally since we met. And it was a struggle,
Right.
you know, and then she finally said, I'm going back to brunette,
Yeah.
you know, because the process was just a little bit longer
Right.
than she thought, you know, so.
And there's definitely a process. The stuff you see on Instagram doesn't just happen in 30 seconds. In that 30-second clip you saw on Instagram, there was...
You can't just get that at CVS and just make it happen.
I mean, you could try. And then come to me and I'll fix it.
It says platinum blonde on the package. I'm just saying.
I mean, Sun In doesn't do that.
Sun in.
My son uses it.
Oh, does he really?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. His hair's
He's
so dry.
Hey,
Oh,
so
it must
dry.
be beautiful.
Oh, he actually looks pretty good as a blonde, but it's like, oh, it's so dry.
you got to do what you got to do to get the girls.
It's like
I mean,
a burlap
you know?
bag on his head.
Yeah. And the aftercare. Aftercare is huge for if you're going to color your hair. There is a huge difference between salon quality products, salon purchased products, and the stuff you get at CVS or whatever store, whatever grocery store.
Yep.
You know, it's there's nothing more frustrating to a stylist than having, your stylist spending hours and hours and appointments doing your hair, and then you go to CVS and you go and you buy whatever it is.
You fuck everything up.
And then you screw it all up. It's like you don't get your Lexus serviced at Ford, do you? Why are you going to go to the grocery store or wherever it is, or buy it on Amazon? Why? You're not supporting your stylist. I'm putting my heart and soul into you.
That's right. You hear that out there? No more buying your shit from CVS. Dare you.
I actually started making my own beard oil because I couldn't find one that I liked.
Did you really?
See?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't used it in a while. Because pandemic. I mean,
It does look nice and soft
it's the
today.
excuse. It actually is like surprisingly soft for
Yeah.
a beard, but I haven't oiled it, and mainly actually so because it's so long now, I have to be careful when I like put oil in it because then it stains my shirts.
Mm.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then it's like a ring around the collar, except it's like a ring on the chest. And
Yeah.
so it's like I have to time it right. So, but yeah, I messed around and like researched what was good for hair, and actually I did something that no beard oil ever did. I put emo oil in it,
Okay.
which is like my beard just soaks it up and makes it so soft.
So they ground up an emu just so you can
They
put it on
did,
your face.
yeah, that poor emu.
There
But
you
I'll tell you what, my beard looked glorious.
It's flowing
The
in the wind.
sacrifice was worth it. But I think that's really important that you mention that. Not only are you supporting a small business when you buy your
Right.
aftercare products from somebody, that's something we talk about all the time is he owns his own small business also. And it's really important to support the small business.
Right.
We talked about when we first came here, I supported a gym the whole time through the pandemic. And although it still didn't work out, but I still felt really good about myself that I put food on the table for somebody because I could afford it.
Mm.
And you're shopping local.
Right.
Like you want your dollars to go back into your community.
Yeah, it goes
you
right
know?
back. I mean, and that's a proven thing. Like the percentages of like shopping local, and I forget what the number is, but it's like 60 to 70% like gets reinvested back into the same community when you shop local.
Right.
Not only that, when you're purchasing your products from a salon, we get points. That goes towards my education. So I can service my clients better with more education. I mean, it's all comes full circle.
Yeah. So that's
You
another
know?
topic I think we should kind of hit on is education. So your education didn't stop at cosmetology school.
No.
Your education is constant,
Yes.
so you're dealing with,
I'm lucky enough to work in a salon where continuing education is huge, and they bring it to us. Like, that is a huge perk of my job. And I'm so grateful to Ochoa's and L'Oreal that they've provided such an amazing amount of education over my 20 years. At Ochoa's, you don't just start out, they don't just like throw you on the floor. You come out of cosmetology, you do 2 years of sweeping the floor and all the grunt work, and you have classes every week, and it's you get what you put into it.
right.
They want you to be successful. They want you to do these things.
How long have you been at Ochoa in East Longmeadow?
20 years.
Oh, so the whole time. Like
Yeah.
you didn't even, because
Yeah.
I know sometimes stylists like bounce around. So
I
they
found,
take good care of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's impressive.
I found my
Yeah.
little work family.
I'm trying.
and-
How long has that location been there? Because like a long time ago, I used to go to the one in South Hadley.
Yeah.
I think there used to be one in South Hadley.
East Longmeadow was the original.
Oh, really?
Yes. South Hadley opened up, I forget how many, I want to say like 5 or 6 years later. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that.
Because I think I was like early 20s, and I went
Yeah.
there. I knew a girl who worked there, so I go get my haircut there.
Yeah.
Just because.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we try and have 4 huge classes. Well, I mean, now with COVID, we're not doing that. They're not as big anymore, but they bring in top, runway artists that we learn from, and we do all day, hands-on, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and we're there. Just,
Like boot camp style.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, my
Oh, yeah.
barber did that for American Crew. Like,
Yeah.
he was like a instructor, or teacher, or whatever, for American Crew, and kind of toured around and went to salons and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. You guys you guys work sometimes open to close,
Oh, yeah. Right.
on your feet, very little time to go to the bathroom,
Right.
never mind anything else.
Right.
So you definitely earn. And I think that like COVID really showed people your worth and your value,
Right.
especially when they couldn't get those things for as long as they could. Now, it was
It was causing protests.
it really
People were
was.
protesting
It was.
over
It
their
really
hair.
was.
Like, yeah, like my roots are growing out.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's get on this.
I'm pretty lucky, you know. It was me and Vic. We were
You're
good
fine.
to go, you
Yeah.
know.
Pandemic ready. I got the pandemic haircut.
Yeah. So I think that's great that you brought that to the table. Like we definitely know the importance of a stylist, and I think it's really important too that they don't have a misconception of what their hair is going to look like when they go to you.
Right.
That Instagram has a lot of filters, a lot of nonsense. So having that, being open and honest when you come in, that I might be able to get you there, but we're going to take a little time to get there,
Right.
and to be committed, because you're committed as
Right.
as the stylist,
Right.
So.
You're my walking advertisement. I want your mane to be flowing.
Yeah.
as
So
you-
number one, if you leave
Right.
here and you're not happy, you're probably not coming back, and you're going
Right.
to tell 20 people about how you're not happy, or they're going to be like, "Oh, what happened to your hair?" So, give me a good example of a time when, like, you went completely, or you suggested completely against what someone came in, like what their idea was, and you're just like, "No, this isn't going to work." Like, how did you approach that? Because that's tough. Because like
delicately.
people have that in their mind, like, no,
Right.
this is going to look great. I love the style. I've seen it like here, and here. And then if you have that example, like, what was the end result? Like, were they happy, or were they just like, I should have never went with what you said?
So I've definitely had those challenging people where they've been dead set on wanting a certain look, and I've softly advised against it. I like to inform my clients as much as humanly possible as to what the procedure will be, what the aftercare will be, how we're going to get here. And okay, yep, great. And they say it, and they say, well, this might not be your best option. Well, that's really what I want. Okay, well, we're going to do this for you. Ooh, and then you give it to them, and then, they're like, oh, well, I don't really like it. And I said, well, it's what you asked for. So, and that's when you kind of build that trust. Sometimes you have to do those types of things to build trust with people.
Yeah.
It
really kind of like is like a marriage, right?
Right.
Like when my wife comes downstairs and says, "Does this make me look fat?" I'm like, "Oh God, don't do that to me, please." No, I'm only kidding. It's but I think being honest and letting them know that that's not really gonna work for you.
Right.
Sometimes they don't like to hear those things, but in the long run, I
Right.
think that really it goes a long way. You know what I mean?
Your hair and your face are your biggest accessories.
Tell me
First
about
and foremost.
it. Look at this.
Yeah. I just try to keep mine covered
I mean,
up.
although my modeling career is done, I still work it.
Yeah. My wife went somewhere, and it was like on a referral, I think from I don't remember who referred her, but she went to the salon, and they did everything that she didn't ask for, everything she said like that she didn't want, and
Yep.
she was so pissed.
Mm.
And the girl's like, at the end, they're like, oh, the girl's like, oh, what do you think? She's like, well, I feel like, well, no, not, I feel like it appears as if you did nothing, or you did everything I told you not to do.
Right.
And the girl's like, oh yeah, isn't it great? And she's like, no, it fucking is not great.
Yeah.
It's
And that's-
everything I said I didn't want.
Yeah.
And that's where education
Yeah.
comes in.
And
That's
it wasn't
where-
like
that's
you
where
know, he
it's a
politely
huge-
suggested or softly suggested it. It was just like, no, I completely ignored everything you told me. And I just did whatever the hell I wanted, maybe because it's all I know how to do.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll give you my card for her.
Well, I don't.
Thank you.
Even going
It's
back
been a
to
long
the,
time since that, but
even going back to the beginning, where I don't think people realize how long you have to go to school for.
Yeah.
So how
Yeah.
long did you have
So-
to go to school for?
Cosmetology school is 1,000 hours in Massachusetts. And then for Ochoa's, you do 2 years general assisting. So it's almost like hair college. And then
so
you
it was
do.
like six or 8 months of straight school at 40 hours a week,
Yes.
roughly. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you do one-on-one with one stylist, where you just follow that stylist around, and you still have classes throughout the day, and that's
Almost
when
like
you
an
perfect.
apprenticeship, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically 3 years of an apprenticeship.
That's an
And then-
investment.
Yeah.
Right.
It really
Right.
is. All
Plus-
to make sure that you come out of there looking your best.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right. And then, you still have your classes from our color company L'Oreal, that they bring in people, and we're lucky enough to have that too.
Yeah.
So it doesn't stop. We're always, and even just stylists in the back room talking and thinking and practicing, and let's try this today.
Yeah, and you have to adapt to new trends too. It's
right.
like, oh shit,
Those
here's
things are
here's
always
this
changing.
trend that's evolving. Like, I got to get ahead of this and figure out how to do it, because like that person's going to come in and be like, well, I want this that I saw on Instagram or whatever,
Right.
and you're like, oh shit, I've never done that before. I got to figure that out.
Yeah.
So hopefully you're ahead of it, and you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
I got that.
Yeah. So
All right. So we are at 100. What did I come up with this shit? An hour and 10 minutes. So we got to get Nate on board.
yes.
So we definitely learned a few things from you. You've been a stylist for 20 years. You're definitely in the MMA. Like, on a scale from 1 to 10, where in that scale do you think you can kick Brett's ass?
I'm thinking like a 7.
Probably.
Would you agree? 7?
I don't know. I'd have to see what he's got. I don't know. I'm not gonna make a bet on that. I don't know.
So I lost like 90 pounds this year or last year, and I looked way more intimidating like this time last year.
I still can't believe you lost
No.
90 pounds.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I've never seen you that big. I mean, look at me. It's the most I've ever weighed. But
I was 295.
wow.
I'm 199 this morning.
Good for you,
so,
buddy.
yeah.
Wow.
And
That's
how did
amazing.
how did you do it?
So I joined. I joined, but I went to a wealth management clinic at Holyoke Hospital.
Yep.
And initially I joined like the non-surgical option. Eventually I had weight loss surgery.
Oh, did you really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
I lost 30. At the time of my surgery, I lost 40 pounds, non-surgically. So just by
That's amazing.
So, and that was from like July 10th to end of September. That's just following like a diet plan that was
Yep.
set up for me, and an exercise plan, just burning a certain amount of calories and activity. And ultimately I decided that, I knew what's right and wrong to eat, and I know like what activity I needed, but portion control, especially over stretching my stomach out over,
Yeah.
a couple decades. That's my biggest problem is like, I could lose 100 pounds, and after losing that, if I could still eat 3 or 4 cheeseburgers in a sitting, I'll still eat 3 or 4 cheeseburgers because I fucking love cheeseburgers. So, if I could physically limit myself to do that. So, at surgery date, I lost 40 pounds. I've lost another 50 pounds or 55 pounds since.
Yeah.
And, I got about another 20 to go, which is going to be unreal because I'll be like at my high school weight.
You going for another 20?
That's apparently, actually, believe it or not, my ideal weight, according to my doctor, is 170 pounds, which is...
See, I got a problem with the BMI thing.
Yeah.
Like mine's like...
Well, yeah, I mean...
You think it's right on?
Not even looking at BMI. Yeah, I mean, and that's another milestone I achieved. So this week, I'm no longer obese. I'm just overweight, which
Nice.
is huge.
Congratulations.
So
That's
I-
amazing.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so I went from
amazing.
morbidly obese.
That's
to-
where I'm at
to
right now.
overweight.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, so it was, and I procrastinated and avoided something like weight loss surgery for a very long time because, I always kind of pictured it as like the easy way out. Let me tell you, it's not the easy way out. Not that it was challenging, but diet and exercise I'm getting to the goal faster,
Right.
but the way I got to the goal is still very much the same, other than, right now, even though I'm eating foods and stuff, I just can't eat as much. So that I'm physically controlled as far as like, that portion perspective of it, but it's still challenging. I still have to exercise, there's no cheating, there's no like,
Right.
still not a shortcut. But to lose 100 pounds or 90 something pounds in 6 months is I think it would be almost impossible to do without some, at least medical assistance.
Right. Yeah.
PSA, join get a hold of somebody if you're really struggling or can't figure it out, because it definitely put me on the right path. And I think I would be here with or without surgery. But it's what's going to happen after I'm like back to 100% normal. And
maintenance.
that portion control,
Right.
because
Yeah.
I love food, and
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
and I love beer. So that's why I'm drinking wine, because I can no longer sit down and drink 16 beers. But physical limitations. But either way, I looked way more intimidating a year ago. Now I just, it's almost anxiety inducing. Like 200 pounds is like a milestone. I can't remember the last time I've been under 200 pounds. And
I can't either.
That's
like,
huge.
I
That's
kind of
great.
well, it's great. Like I feel really good about it, but at the same time, like I've always been used to being the big guy,
Yeah.
and I'm not the big guy anymore. I'm like, I'm kind of like small, you know, like even though
We need to get you in the gym.
yeah.
You need to get your. You need to start
No.
training with Nate.
No, listen,
Anytime, man, hit me up. I'm around. I'm in the gym all the time.
Yeah,
so
no,
you
I
guys see
know.
me, I'm there.
I was going there like 3-4 times a week, bringing my kid there. I don't want anything to do with any of that.
He's like, first we're going to talk about no kicking in the nuts, and then we'll move on from
And
there.
I'm never going to be your sparring partner.
All right. Well, thank you very much for
Yes.
being on.
Thank you.
I appreciate you so much, and I
course.
thank you for
Thank you,
supporting me.
Jeff.
You're very
Of
welcome.
course. It's been a
So,
pleasure.
thank you. If you want to switch with Nate now, Nate, come on down.
Yeah. And edit break.
And there's some water and stuff in that fridge right over there if you want something. There's also wine over there. Feel free to break open one of those bottles. There's all sorts of stuff. There's seltzer and everything else in there. And then just pull up as kind of close as you can there.
Does this sound good? Oh, I can hear myself.
Yeah,
Whoa,
right?
That's cool.
And you can
Never
see
done
how
this
you kind of
before.
go away and it gets better, you know. So
Too far. Oh, yeah, that's nice. Oh, this is really cool. I love this.
Yeah,
It's a
thank you
nice
for
setup,
coming down, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's this is really exciting. I'm
Yeah.
really happy to be here.
first time meeting you today, and so for the world and YouTube, this is Nate Ghareeb. He's a professional MMA fighter. His professional record is 2-0. His MMA record is 7-3, and Muay Thai is 1-0. He's a purple belt in jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
It's an impressive record so far.
Yeah, it's been a good run so far. I've started. I grew up wrestling. So when I was 14, I joined a wrestling program at my high school at Hampshire Regional.
Yep.
And honestly, because of my wrestling coach is like how I got into MMA. But I mean, I wrestled for 5 years with him from 8th grade to my senior year. And then I went to college. And when I was at college, I decided that, you know, I had some life things happen, and I started to like kind of think about what I really wanted to do with my life. I knew I really didn't want to work a 9-to-5. That wasn't never the goal. And I started training my sophomore year, going into my junior year of college. Started training at a jiu-jitsu gym it was Team Link Northampton is where I started.
With what's his name? Who was the
John-
UFC?
John Manley.
Yep.
Yeah, I started with John Manley. And I started taking some of his MMA classes. It was like kickboxing, boxing based, and his jiu-jitsu gi classes.
Yep.
And then I was there for like 2.5 months, and then I actually was transferring because I started at Springfield College. So I was there for two years, and then I transferred to West Virginia, and then I found the WVU Muay Thai team,
Yep.
where I met one of my best friends, mentors, Chris Rodriguez, who taught me like traditional style Muay Thai, and it was like I just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
From there, it was like I knew like that this was what I wanted to do, and especially with the striking, I fell in love with the striking.
Did you really? Yeah.
Yeah, I actually I wrestled in college for a little bit at Springfield College for 2 months my freshman year and 2 months my sophomore year, but had to get out because of injuries. So I actually broke my foot my freshman year.
Oh, did you really?
They had to put a screw in my foot,
Oh.
and then my sophomore year I actually tore my labrum in the same tournament. So it was the same tournament my freshman year. This is the second, and then the second year, same tournament again at Ithaca College.
Now, where's your labrum?
It's in my shoulder. So the
Okay.
labrum is like the thing. It's like if you look at a golf tee, like the ball sits on the tee. That's pretty much the thing that like holds it in place. And it like the whole thing was pretty much like after years of abuse, because I just had surgery last November. So it's been like I had it for 6 years. I had this problem. So when I was the reason why I fell in love with striking was because every time I grapple, my shoulder, like if I shot on someone, my shoulder would just like pop out and it would kill me.
man.
So there were days where I couldn't even pick up my arm. I couldn't throw hooks with my left hand, but actually that was how I got really good. I'm primarily a southpaw. So you'll see like more like I started as an orthodox. Now
So can you explain to people what southpaw is?
Yeah, so southpaw is like traditional conventional stance, or orthodox is like when your left hand's forward, your right hand's your rear. So usually you want to fight with your rear hand being your power hand.
Yep.
But because I tore my shoulder, I started fighting with my right foot, right side forward, and that's because I could throw straights, but I couldn't throw looping punches. So it made more sense to throw my left straight and use it as a setup and rock people with my right hand, or like use it to get inside and grab
Right,
onto
yep.
people. So, actually, like, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me, because it made me better as a southpaw, and I mean, switch stances fluidly. I can
Right.
fight from both stances. It doesn't matter. But like I said, I fell in love with the striking. I fell in love with like the idea of striking. I trained that and that was like my main focus. Like, I actually sidelined the wrestling. I was like, I'll just outstrike everybody.
Oh, no kidding. Got rid of all that.
That was my goal.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, I'll outstrike anybody. I don't care. Like, that's what my focus was. I didn't even really train it. So, as I got to 2016, the year I was graduating from college, like 2 months before graduation, I had my first like sanctioned MMA fight. I knocked the kid out in 30 seconds.
Oh,
and
wow.
Then the next weekend, me and my buddy Chris, we both fought back-to-back weekends. And I fought the next weekend at another place, weight class up. Submitted the kid in the second round with a like they call it like a ninja choke or a blood choke. Oops, sorry. Completely unconscious, and I broke my foot in the first round throwing a kick, and I still finished him in the third round.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, from there, like, it's just kind of been growing, and like, obviously I put more time into my grappling and stuff, because I started to realize, like, I relied a lot on like the grappling. I already wrestled, like, I have it all. But it's like, it's kind of like what you're talking about with Gina. Like, you have to be consistent. You have to consistently build your knowledge. Like, there's never like, I'm good enough.
Right. Right.
I didn't get into this being like, when I figured that I would actually like commit to this, it wasn't like, I just want to be a part of this. Like, I don't want to be a journeyman.
Right.
I want to be the best in the world.
Yeah.
And I want to beat the best in the world. And I don't want to compete with the best of the world. I want to destroy the best of the world. That's
Right.
my mindset.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, I couldn't be satisfied being a striker. And that was the best thing about meeting Jeremy, is that his mindset is, if you're going to come here and you're going to train, you're going to be a well-rounded mixed martial artist.
Right.
You have to wrestle. He was like, if you want to be a good fighter, you have to know how to wrestle. You have to do jiu-jitsu, which is, even when I was training with John, I would skip technique. I would just do the rolling, because I just love to grapple. I love the competitiveness of it.
Right.
But like, I wasn't getting better on the ground,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit, but I wasn't submitting people. Like, I was just out athletic. I was just more athletic than them. I was just like,
Right.
I was quicker, stronger. Like, I could do stuff that other guys couldn't. But like, after a couple losses on the ground where you think like, I'd be fine.
Yeah.
It really opens your eyes.
We talk about humbling.
Very humbling.
Right,
You bring the word
Yeah,
back.
absolutely. It works.
I mean, it's extremely humbling. 3 of my fights that I lost as an amateur came from grappling.
Wow.
And in 2 of them came from armbar back to back.
Really?
And those were like really pivotal. I mean, like, obviously I'm only 2-0, so it's like I still have a long way to go. But I do believe that it will change the trajectory of where I'm going, because by losing that, I had a choice. I have a choice. It's like, I can, like, because I thought, like, when I first started, I was like, I'm going to be the guy. I'm going to be the guy. I'm going to do this. And when you lose like that, and you lose like that in front of all these people who like support you and care about you, like all these people behind me, like I have all of these friends and my family who are like I said, like, I'm 27 now. And I put everything on hold, anything else on hold, just for this. So like, I don't really get paid for what I do. You know what I mean? Like, I work for my dad here and there, make money, and then I just like train, twice a day,
Right.
every day. And
Twice
that's
a
it.
day. No
Twice a
kidding.
day, every day,
Wow.
as much as I can.
Yep.
And if it's not that, then I'm watching tape. I'm thinking about fighting. I'm shadow boxing. I'm like constantly like breaking down videos. Like, I'm talking to people who fight. I'm always looking to learn and grow as much as I can, and build myself to be a better, not just a better fighter, but a better person. And it's all, I like, martial arts is like all full circle.
It is. It's all connected. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, do you know in advance who you're gonna fight? Like, so we talk about watching tapes. So you know who you're gonna fight. Do you watch those tapes and break down how that fighter fights?
Yeah. So if they say, so generally what happens is like, they'll give you a call. Like, I have a manager now, which is great. He's a great guy. I love him. Shout out to Mike Kim. He's the man. But he will talk with promotions, put my name in the hat, say, hey, like, this guy wants to fight. Like, what do you think? They'll like give you a bunch of options, or like who's available, who also signed up. And then like, you kind of like decide like who you're going to fight. And, yeah, man, I like, my big thing is like, I follow a lot of like the Sun Tzu's concepts. Like, I want to know my opponent. I want to know about them. I want to know what they do. Like, are they striker? Are they grappler? Or Yeah, striker, grappler, like clinch fighter, like what are they? What is their main thing? And like break them down. Like what are their tendencies?
Yeah.
What are their habits? Humans are creatures of habit. I want to know what you're doing. I want to know what your favorite thing is, and I'm going to shut that down.
Yeah.
And so for me, especially like around New England, what I find is that the grappling's pretty good, striking's not so good. And I've had that advantage. So actually, like, that's been one of the problems for me getting fights, like not so much with just COVID, but also getting opponents. The last time they asked me about getting CES at an event, and they offered me 5 guys, different guys, and we picked, and like we had 5 guys say no.
Wow, really?
Or 5 guys that
They
couldn't.
don't want to deal with a striker.
They don't want to deal with the striker.
Really?
And they don't want to get KO'd. My last 3 fights, like I've just moved down to 145. So like I've always wrestled at a heavier weight class. In high school, I was wrestling at 189 and 170.
Yeah.
I'm 5'8".
Yeah.
I'm short, you know what I mean? And I have always wrestled at that higher weight. Even in college, 74 and 84. I wrestled at those weight classes as like a chubbier guy.
Yeah.
And on all the fights I fought and lost, 55. I'm fighting guys bigger than me.
Wow.
And that's not an excuse. Like because there's those the only guys that will take fights.
Yeah, right.
So I'll take that, you know? And then because Jeremy convinced me, he's like, yeah, let's move down to 45. Take it down for the last 3 fights, all KOs.
Wow.
All knockouts, a technical knockout, KO. Like at 45, like I feel good. I feel quick. I feel strong. But like that's the problem we're having. Yeah, like most guys want to grapple, or they feel like and like the striking, like there are guys that are good, but I do believe that I have the advantage. Like I know more. Because I'm a student of the game.
Yeah.
I'm constantly improving. I want to get better. I want to be better than you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
So that right now it's just hard trying to find fights, and so we're looking kind of outside the box right now. To see
Is there actually fighting going on during COVID right now?
Yeah, so obviously UFC's been like going, and Bellator's been having shows here and there. CFFC, which is what we're looking for next, I believe, is out in Pennsylvania, and they were doing weekend shows, so they were doing Saturday, Sunday shows, which was really cool. But then Pennsylvania, I think, had like a shutdown or a lockdown again, so they stopped that like right around Christmas time, I believe. And then CES, where I fought for them last October, and they're out of Rhode Island. So I mean, if they have another show as well, you know, like we'll jump on that. But like right now, it's just a matter of just trying to build my record, get up there, get some fights, get some more experience, you know, like and just trying to get my weight, because like my goal is to be in the UFC. My goal is to fight the best. Like I said, I want to be the best.
Sure.
I want to fight for a title someday. You know, like I want to redeem myself for not being like the guy that I know I can be.
Right.
You know, I know I have the potential, and that just comes from being consistent, hard work, and constantly improving. Like I said before, I know this, I believe this, you know, like change the mindset. You know, it's not, I know, I'm sure like some people, like, I don't always believe in luck in a lot of ways, especially with this stuff. I think if you work hard, you're consistent, you know, you
pay off.
You know yourself.
Right.
Exactly. It will eventually come, like you said, like full circle. Like you guys were talking about that earlier. And I believe that, you know, and I think it's just a matter of time. Like I had a choice, like when I lost those 2 times, like I could have just quit and went home, and just said, you know, I'm done. This isn't for me.
Yeah.
But I just think that those were, it kind of shows you, you know, like this is like a chance for you to work on something, or you can just give up.
Right.
Right. So I just look at it as an opportunity to get better. And like now I truly, like I just earned my purple belt under Roger Denton and Nick Newell. I haven't been promoted in years. Like 2016, I got my blue belt from John, and like I moved over to different teams now. Yeah. So, but I put a lot of time into my grappling. I put a lot of time into my wrestling. I put a lot of time into my jiu-jitsu. Yep. So I put in a lot of time into like studying the highest level coaches, the highest level competitors, and like how can I put a system together that's like effective so that I can, like I said, I'm not looking to go in there and outscore you. I'm going in there to finish you. I'm going in there to beat you down, break you. So, that's just like, that's been my mindset since the
I mean,
losses,
that's your job at the end of the day, you know?
So what did the morning after look like after that first loss, like in your head? What was like, you woke up the next morning, what was the first thought in your head?
It's tough.
Yeah, it was hard because, so I had, like I said, I had 3 losses, and I guess, the 2 after I got finished, those ones were definitely really, really hard to swallow. But if I start with like the first loss I ever had, I would say it was eye-opening, because I realized like you can't just get away. Because what the guy did was my first loss, he beat me by decision, and he took me down and held me on the ground. Yep. And that was it. And I lost because
that would piss me off.
But you know what? Like not losing by submission or anything, but it changed my perspective, because that's also another reason why I had to go and find a coach that could teach me how to wrestle on the cage. Because so we fought in a boxing ring, but there was a cage. So the one thing that people might not understand about this, and it was a very, very powerful life lesson, was the corners. So he would take me down and pin me in the corner. Can't use the corner to get up. Pin your head in the corner. You can't, and you're stuck. You can't roll. You can't move. At least when the cage is in a circle, you can like kind of roll and move yourself. You can't do that.
No 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Changes the game.
Right.
So that was hard. Because I'm laying on my back trying to play in the guard, trying to submit this dude, and he just held good position, like threw some little shots, and it's just like, what are you gonna do? Like,
things.
what am I doing? Like, because I'm on the feet, it was like there was no contest. I'm beating you.
Yeah.
And like he knows it. He'll say it today. Like, yeah, he's the best guy I've ever fought. And like, yeah, you're right. And on the feet, but it was a life lesson. Like, so it was hard. But I think another reason why like I had to change camps and really start thinking about like, should I really be doing, like, I got to be doing more. I got to learn more. I got to get better. Like I lost, and it sucks because it's like I know I think it was a split decision, or I think that he beat me. I think I was winning the first round, and then I won like half of the second round, and then he started taking me down and holding me. Yep. It was like, I need to learn something else. And that's where Jeremy actually taught me how to, he's just like, you can't lay on your back and play in the guard. This was kind of like as the transitions, people aren't playing in the guard as much. They're not, there's the gi's not there to help you hold people down. And, you can be tricky off your back. There are plenty of guys who do it, but for the most part, like what most guys were doing at this time, where they're standing up, they're getting up. And now it's like, if you want to, I can get up. Doesn't matter. Like, I'll elbow you from the guard now. Like, that's another thing. Being a professional, like I use my elbows, and that's another reason why I think people haven't seen it yet. But that's another weapon that I think I can utilize is my elbows, and especially on my back. Like, if you want to hold me down in guard next time, like I'm just gonna thump you with 3 elbows, and either you're gonna find a submission, or I'm gonna get up. And
you're gonna find Jesus real quick.
Yeah. So
it's like a kick to the nuts.
Yeah. It's exactly a power kick.
So it's really important then to have the right camp, because, the right person, like we talk all the time about being the great mentor. I think that goes a long way. You get into the right camp, they start training you the right way, you start pushing you. I'm a huge person in forward progress.
Yeah.
Like you said, you brought up a good point. You have a loss, that really rings in your psyche, man. I know I've had losses in my life where I've sat down and I'm just like, I got to rethink what I'm doing here, man. I got to clear my mind, get right back in that mindset, and drive forward, right? Because I talk about the warrior mindset all the time. I use that word all the time. And we have a friend of ours that we went to high school with. He was in school. He was in Chicopee High. But he had COVID, and he was on a ventilator for like 80 days.
Rich?
Rich Davio.
He came to comp for a little bit.
Did he really?
Yeah. He was at comp, like our junior or senior year.
I've been trying to get him on the podcast. He was supposed to come on, then some other things came up, but we'll eventually get him
definitely,
on.
Yeah.
And 80 days on a ventilator. He was multiple times that they pretty much told his significant other that he's not going to make it tonight, and he made it that night. Multiple times his organs failed, and he made it, So I think that having that warrior mindset is huge, even in everyday life. It doesn't have to be like MMA or anything, but just having that, we all know there's shitty people out there we're gonna deal with. We deal with shitty people all day long.
All the time.
But it's the fact that I'm not going to let someone like that, rearrange my positive attitude and the things that I'm doing. But I've always been fascinated where, if I didn't know you, I would have no idea you were in MMA. You're very, I don't want to say passive, but you're very gentle. Yeah, I don't want to use that word. There's a great aura about you. You know what I mean? And I see that in a lot of people that do MMA. That big tough guy thing. Me and my buddy, so one of the guys I work with, he's gay. And we talk about the fact that there's this stigma that we all have to be these macho guys, right? And I'm not allowed to cry or whatever like that. And that was my problem growing up. My father was that way. And I had anger management issues growing up, and I took those out on other people. But when I finally said to myself, I'm done, I really opened up this whole new part of myself that I didn't know existed. And you guys have this switch. You're very, I want to say gentle, but it's not the right word. I don't know what word to use, but when you get into that ring, it's like that light switch goes off and you're all business. I've always found it fascinating that you can go into a ring, 2 guys can battle it out in like medieval kind of way, you know, and have so much respect for each other after you're done. And you can see the respect, you know. I'm sure there's some exceptions to some knucklehead, but for the most part, you know, you guys really shake hands and probably have drinks afterwards. I'm fascinated with that.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing for sure.
You know
And
what I mean?
Like I have respect for all of my opponents, even the guys who beat me. Like though it bothers me that I've lost, like some of my greatest teachers come from the 3 guys that beat me.
Right.
And like they don't know it, but I mean, and like I trained with one of them who was coming to the gym like right after my shoulder surgery, started training with us. And it was like it had been like 2 years after the fight, but for the most part, I mean, I look at these 3 dudes that were. I mean, I don't consider them better than me. They were better than me on that night, but they gave me a roadmap and they gave me an opportunity to improve myself or to fall backwards. You know, like it's just like how you view like any loss, like you said. Like I believe there's an opportunity in everything.
Right.
No matter what it is, doesn't matter how bad it is. Like, yeah, we all go through bad things. Like, and to us, like, it depends on the situation, but we all kind of can take it just as extreme. Like we don't know how bad it is for like if something happens, like a loss in your like a family member, a loss of like a fight, a loss of like you know, you lose your house, like anything can happen, but like what comes next is what is super important, you know, and that's what I think. And
so how you choose
like
to look
that.
at it. So that's why I asked that question, like what was that morning after like for you?
Yeah.
You know, because you know, it's very easily to feel defeated. It's like
absolutely
that's the ultimate scapegoat. Like I lost, you know, F this.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously you're pretty determined. You said you're going to be the best and you want to beat the best. And that's the main reason I asked the question, because it's all about mindset. You know, it's like, okay, you know, so shit happens. Shit happens every day to every person, but how you climb out of that pile of shit. You know, do you sit there and wallow in it like it's a hot tub, or do you climb out and say, you know, I'm going to keep moving? You know, and I think that's a very valuable lesson for everyone to learn. Like, it doesn't matter what shitty situation you're in. It's how you look at how that shitty situation can help you improve or what you can learn from it. And ultimately, you know, how you walk away from it is, you know, it's everything.
Right. Yeah. I think sometimes people get too caught up and think that these are like one thing is the one defining moment. It's like, it's like, I think it's a building block. It's like how you found like your foundation as you keep laying these things and it builds you up, you know, like how strong it is, but like, it's okay to fail. It's not okay to give up.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay to lose, but it's not okay to quit and walk, you know, like unless it's like you make like a conscious, like you're like, yeah, this is like just not for me. Like it may not be, you know,
Right.
But like really consider like, am I just quitting because my ego's bruised, or am I quitting because I literally cannot do this? This is not for me. Like I hate everything about, like, you just don't, like, you can tell when your blood doesn't take, like my girlfriend's from Trinidad and Tobago. She says your blood doesn't take to something. You don't like it. It does, like, you'll know. But I think for the most part you'll know. But yeah, I mean, like you can't let like bad things happen, like define you, and you have to like find the gold, like the nugget of gold that's in there, because I think there's a nugget of gold in every situation, you know.
Absolutely.
A lot of people
write that one down. There's a nugget of gold in every situation.
I think people give up way too easy, especially when it's uncomfortable, you know?
100%.
So like when I took this new job, flying was going to be a part of my job, and I was not okay with that at first. I had a bad experience in 2000 where we blew an engine on takeoff, and so, you know, my mindset was every time I get on a plane now, something bad's going to happen, you know. Right. And I have a family. I want to get home to my family, and every little bump in the thing, you know, I think we're going down. And then it was kind of funny. My job is phenomenal when it comes to our company trainers. They are just phenomenal people. And we had a woman come in. She used to work on Wall Street as a day trader. She came in and she was an empowerment coach. And she had me do this exercise, all of us, about tapping our legs and doing nay, say, may, whatever how that saying goes, but using our body rhythm as a way to calm ourselves down. And I already knew these things to begin with, but I'm like, you know what, I need to practice these. So here I'm on a plane, and I just get myself in a zone. And I realized I'm a big Star Wars fan. Like, you can see the Boba Fett helmet there. They were playing Solo, Han Solo on the flight home. Yep. And all of a sudden, I just felt like this warmness come over me and this relaxation. And I turned Solo on, and I'm telling you, this plane was jumping around like crazy. It was the middle of an ice storm. So when we flew into Bradley, we were the last plane that they would allow to come in because the planes were having a hard time landing. And I didn't flinch. Like, it was weird. I could have given up. I could have got to my next, because I had a layover. I could have jumped in a car and said, okay, I'm not flying anymore. But it's that the difference between someone succeeding and someone not succeeding is someone who succeeds tries one more time, you know?
Agreed.
And I think that's huge. If you're going to have some losses in life. And, you know, we lost parents within a year. And, you know, I'm sure you have somebody that you love that you lost, and you lost a fight. You know, all those things are, losing a fight. I remember those days, man. I would go crazy for weeks for the totally wrong reasons, but I know what that's like. And to be able to pick yourself up off the ground and say, analyze what you did wrong, because knowing that you have to get back in the ring because that's your job. You know what I mean? That's not my job. You know?
No, we talked about like bad visits
Yeah.
in retail where, you know, it's like, I know I'm doing a great job, and they come in and like they hammer you, and it was to get us better. You know, and it's the same thing. Like, you know, even though obviously in your case, you know, they beat you because they want to win and that's the goal. You can look at it two ways. You know, again, like you looked at it as like, okay, now I know where I need to get better because this is how I lost.
Right.
And you know, it's all that thing. Like, you get defeated, just, you know, how are you going to walk away from it?
What's your who's your person that you look up to in MMA? Like, if you had to be someone famous, who would it be?
Oh, it's Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge Conor McGregor fan. When I started getting into MMA, so like I didn't even know what MMA was until like 2012.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
we watched the I remember, I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
but,
you're good.
I watched my father was in Taekwondo,
Mm-hmm.
and when the UFC came in, I remember him calling me. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to rent this on pay-per-view." I'm like, "I'm good."
I remember those original UFC
Yeah.
like, pay-per-views. It was crazy.
Yep. And so my stepbrother,
We're dating ourselves, but
he called me up. He's like, "I'll come over too." So my father's like, "Well, we'll get food and we'll watch," you know. And I watched Royce Gracie fight, and we were all looking at each other like, "Who the hell is this guy?" And he was taking down guys that were 100 pounds. I mean, was it chemo that he fought? Got him in an armbar, and the guy was like probably like 112, 120 pounds at least bigger than him. I mean, that's insane,
Right.
you know? And he tapped out. We're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, this is insane. And he didn't fight one fight that night. He fought like 3 or 4 fights.
Yeah.
And that totally changed, as far as I know, the whole dynamics of MMA, or we didn't even call it MMA back then.
Yeah.
You know, just
It
traditional.
was Ultimate Fighting. I think
Yeah,
that's what
yeah,
they called it. It was
Ultimate
just like,
Fighting.
Ultimate
Yeah.
Fighting. Yeah, and then it got boring for a while because they didn't put any limits on submissions and stuff. So like,
People would just,
you
like,
could
lay
just
on
sit there
top
and
of
like
each
you'd be
Yeah,
watching for
yeah.
a half an hour while someone's in a submission hold, and you're like, okay, you know, like, you know, I'm out of beer, you know.
But I find that fascinating at the same time. Like, when I see somebody in guard and they're trying to get out, like, or I find that fascinating. Yeah, there's that little span of time where you're like, okay, let's go. But the dynamics and stuff that go into that escape, or
like strategizing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what do I have to do? Like, based on where I'm at.
yeah, I mean, it's one flinch, you know, and you're trying to get the guy to do something else.
One wrong
and,
move, like
and then boom.
1 degree, and you can get out of it.
That's the thing with martial arts and like all. I mean, the more you do it, the more you realize it's all the same thing. And I just I didn't get into it because it was like like I might have been like I wasn't angry when I started getting into it, but I was definitely like at a low point in my life. Like, the reason I decided I need to go to the gym was because I was just like not where I needed to be. I was just like at the I'd hit my rock bottom, and I needed to make some changes. And I didn't fall in love with like the brutality of it. Like, I'm gonna, like, even though I'm a striker, like I fell in love with the art of striking. I didn't fall in love with like, I'm gonna bludgeon this guy. Like, I'm gonna change this dude's face and his life. Like, no, like I got into it because I love the art of the technique. And a lot of people, I think, because if you don't do it enough, you don't see that. You don't see the artistic side to it. You see like two dudes, 2 cavemen getting into two gladiators getting together and smashing each other.
Yeah.
You know, I watch fights with people. Like, I watched fights with my mom, and she was a huge fan of the wrestling. She loved the wrestling. Like, she was one of my biggest supporters, and still one of my biggest supporters to this day. But, you know, when people are on the ground and getting ground and pound, and she's like, oh my God, that's horrible. Like, the blood starts coming, and it's just like, yeah, that sucks. But it's like, you just don't see like the beauty of what they're doing. Like you said, like there's like, people don't see like you are good based on like your ability to like understand geometry, physics, psychology, anatomy,
Right.
you know, position
Like
is
the nuts.
everything. The nuts, you know, you gotta hit the nuts. Yeah, like you guys ever had a problem on the street? Just kick someone in the nuts. You know?
It works for me.
Or call Gina.
Worked for Gina.
It always goes to the
Took a
nuts.
professional fighter, dropped him immediately. So never been dropped in a fight, but got dropped by getting kicked in the nuts by Gina. So that works for anybody out there that needs to protect themselves. But yeah, man, I look at it as an art and I look at it as a science. And like I was not I was a slow learner. I didn't like learning. In school, I was not interested. Like I was in a lot of sped classes, and I had to take some extra classes like growing up for math and for reading and writing and all that stuff because I just couldn't comprehend stuff the same way other people could. But like even for, like I said, with math especially. But when you start learning about angles, you start learning about like how to like change the position to get like you're gonna hit someone with like I didn't understand. And my teacher, and I apologize to you, Mr. Petorsky, I don't even know how I got through geometry, but now I'm here and I'm like I understood things I didn't understand just through doing the martial arts.
Right.
You know, even like
you would have just got on the ground and fought with me, I would have got it.
It would have made way more sense if you just beat the shit out of me.
It's those aha moments.
Like,
you know,
he
down
hit
the
me
road.
from 45 degrees.
Yeah. It just, I don't know, just put more interest, you know, you got
Sure.
something behind it. It just like, there was more substance. I was like, oh man, I take to this. And then it was like, I fell in love with learning. Like before, my whole life, because I didn't think I could do it. You know,
Right.
that's one of the most powerful things is like, I didn't think I could like learn because it was like, oh, you're slow. You have a slow mentality. You can't, you know, you're different. You don't learn the same. And it's like, I learn the same as like, I can learn the same as everybody else. I just teach it a different way. Like sometimes it's not that my teachers were bad, but just sometimes it just takes like a different approach and seeing it in a different light to just change the perspective. Your point of view is just, it could be changed just simply by the direction you're pointing, you know?
I was the same way. I could never learn in that classroom environment. I always struggled. Although I did good. I stayed back in 8th grade. My parents just got divorced. I started meddling in some drugs, drinking, and I was too young for all that kind of stuff. And then all my buddies went to high school. I stayed back, and that's where I met Matt and all those guys. And those were the guys that took me out of the funk I was in and showed me a better way of doing things. But when I got into high school, you know, I realized my mom only asked a few things from me. You know, and one of them is to be good in school and get a job. So I got a job at 14, full-time job at Brad's on Front Street. And then I did really good in school. So when I got into automotive because my mind that was my way of thinking. Like geometry wasn't my thing. I knew if I did that, I was going to set myself up for failure. But if I went to automotive, that was something I really loved. I liked working with my hands. I like finding out how things worked, and I did really well. And when I got to my senior year, I was only in school until like 10-15. I would do the first one was study hall, so I wasn't really good at doing my homework at home. But study hall first period gave me the option of getting in school and starting the mindset to get it done. And then second was English, and then I had theory class, and then I went home. Well, actually, I didn't go home. I went to work.
You go to work. I was like that co-op, like senior year, right?
Yeah,
Where you could go work like your trade, whatever you were.
Yeah. And so I had that outlet that I don't think I normally would have had. And I think if I would have been like my brothers and sisters where I went through regular class, probably wouldn't have done well. And I even study weird. Like, well, I have to do a lot of computer work for work and watching a lot of videos and stuff. And I always have a podcast going in the background. I have multiple things going on because that's how my brain works. I'm very directional or whatever. So that's basically a lot of things that you have to do. You have to think very outside the box, and you can't think very linear, you know, because that'll get you knocked out, you know. So I can respect that part of it and having that different kind of mindset, you know. And
yeah, well, it's like that. There's a cartoon around standardized testing, you know, and it is, you know, meant to talk about, you know, kind of that same thing, like that, you know, one size fits all education. And it's like, oh, you know, for our next exercise, you know, everyone's going to climb this tree, and like in line, it's like an elephant and a monkey and a giraffe and a hippopotamus, you know, and like, obviously, you know, learning, it's not one size fits all. And, you know, I think everybody has that struggle story of like how something doesn't fit, you know, in their learning. I mean, I can't study. Like, I don't know I never learned how to properly study for things. Like I either learn them or I don't, and they're either with me forever or they're not. And I did horrible in school, but I don't think I'm a stupid person, you know, and and I think, my oldest brother, like, experienced the same thing. Very smart person. He's very good at what he does, but he did horrible in school. And it's unfortunate that, there's like, there's those special education classes, or, you're an outlier, or, whatever keyword they have for that year. And it's really just, no, we just haven't found what works for you.
Right.
Almost everybody has the same learning capacity. It's just finding that customized learning technique, to what makes sense to you.
Mm.
And, again, there's no way, at least in the foreseeable future, that, the educational system can adapt to something like that, because it's so diverse.
Right.
What works. I mean, there's 3 of us here, and we guarantee we all learn 3 different ways just in the hearing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that, as soon as you find that niche and you find the way, so for you it was, graduate, from math, and then you graduate to, some, form of, MMA, or, now all of a sudden geometry just like clicks.
Right.
And you're just like, I understand all
Weird
this.
how it works.
Yeah, I understand all these angles.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you can't grapple, with your 6th grade teacher.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can.
Yeah, I've seen it happen. Didn't work out too
They
well.
frown
for
on
either
that shit a little bit. How'd you do in high school, Gina?
When I actually applied myself, I did pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Uh,
could.
Was that hard growing up with a father that was a doctor?
Oh,
then-
very much.
Yeah,
He
I
did
could imagine
not-
that stress.
Yes, he did not. I asked him one question about the heart, and I did not move from that table till I could tell you every which way the heart functioned 4 hours later.
Yeah.
She taught the class for the next
Yeah.
week.
Yep.
A little stressful.
Yep.
A little stressful. Yeah. I mean, my as a parent, that was really tough when my kids were. So we had my older son. We had some troubles in high school with him, and then we had him tested, and it was kind of funny. So I get called down to the school, and I'm that dad. I'm walking in. I'm like, today's the day, because when he first started telling me that he had problems, I didn't want to be that guy that just hammered him, and then come to find out he's got a problem, and then be like, great, dad of the year,
I'm automatically that guy. I'm like, you suck.
Yeah.
Like, I'm horrible dad as far as that concerns. Then I calmed down a little bit. But
So my wife was like, I'm really proud of you that you didn't flip out. You kind of. So I get to the school and I sit down, and the guy kind of pissed me off for a second, because he had this paperwork and it had all these graphs on there, and I didn't know what I was looking at to understand. So he starts laughing, and I'm like, is this guy for real? Like, this is not funny, because I'm gonna go home and kick my kid's ass after this is done. I got to that point where it was just like, I want him to do just get out of school, dude. And we couldn't get to that level, So he slides the paperwork over to me, and he goes, 80's an average. Your kid's at a 130. I'm like, well, is that good or bad? He's like, that's phenomenal. And I'm like, that son of a bitch. He is just lazy. And he goes, that's what it is. Like, your kid's brilliant, and he's not applying himself. So I'm like, where is he right now? He's like, he's upstairs in English class. I'm like, get him down here, man. So he comes in, and I really wanted that to be like a learning time for him. Like, dude, this is what you're capable of. And it's not me saying it. I can tell you all day long that I'm your dad. I'm proud of you. You could do all these wonderful things, but here it is. And so all his teachers came down, and they all had something to put into this test. And one of his teachers is like, he writes so brilliantly. Like, I want to write with him. Like, I'd like to write a book with your boy. And my kid's like, man,
Yeah.
it's no big deal. And he plays the drums. He plays the guitar. He's a phenomenal artist. And I can't even draw a straight line, So it's weird to hear me as I talk about it, like, I'm like, I'm jealous that my boy's so talented. You know
I'm
what
so
I mean?
jealous of my kids.
But in such a great way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then my daughter, she struggled through school a little bit too. Like, she started becoming like her brother, because I think she saw, like, okay, he got away with all this stuff. I'm gonna do the same thing. And that's when I finally said, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. But she's knocking it out of the park now. She's a veterinary, going to school for being a vet tech. She was going to be a stylist, but the state of Massachusetts screwed her over with her test, and she finally just said, I'm done. So one night and I said to her, like, I'm really big on change, right? So, and you guys can attest to this. you can do two things. You can get up every morning and do the same stupid shit you've been doing the day before or whatever. And if some people, that's okay. Like they're comfortable doing that. That's what they do. I wasn't going to accept that. She was crying all the time from work, what she was doing. We really liked her boss though. So it was just the environment was bad. And I finally said to her, I'm sick and tired of hearing about you're going to quit, because you're not quitting. Your next step is you're going to find a job and you're going to go do something else. We don't quit in this house. So she did. She got up the next morning. She's like, I just applied to an animal hospital. I'm like, well, she didn't have any experience, but it was for a kennel cleaner. She was just going to go clean kennels, walk dogs, call it a day. So I think we fast forward like maybe a year or so. Her boss just promoted her to full-time and she said to her, you are the best hire I've ever had in my professional career.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? Like,
That's great.
That's great.
We talk about not quitting. You could have just, because I know what it's like to get knocked out, and I don't want nothing to do with that again, but that's your job. So you can either walk out of that ring and go, I'm done, and then leave it behind, or you can, again, take those learning experiences and say, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to think differently. I'm going to do things better. I'm going to challenge myself, because the rate of failure out there, no matter, pick a job, if it feels uncomfortable, I went into a business where I knew nothing about it. And yeah, I struggled a little bit. I faked it till I made it, but I always went in there with two things: to support somebody and be the best mentor that I could be, and to be honest. Right? I mean, would you think I came through with that?
100%, Jeff.
She paid me a really nice compliment the other day, and I'll tell you guys off air, but it was really nice to hear that, because I really try to be that person where when I walk in the building, people go, oh my God, there's Jeff. Not like, oh, there's this dude again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't, and I always try to be of service. My parents were of service all the time. My father did a lot with people. Like, my dad was the kind of guy where he would meet you for the first time, and if he liked you, because there was two things with my dad. He either loved you or he didn't like you at all. There was no like in between.
Yeah, I can relate.
That's
kind of how I am.
And if you said, he was a finished carpenter by trade, and he would say, like, if you said you wanted to build a deck, he'd be at your house the next day, and you wouldn't even know this guy, but he'd be pulling up with his tools.
Tape measure and shit.
Let's go to Home Depot, get your wood, build your deck. And you'd be like, what? But that's what he would do,
right.
Because he always was of service. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's just so important. And even the respect level that you guys show each other is insane. Like, I've been to a few MMA fights. A friend of mine, Jesse Camp, is a promoter.
Mm.
So I've been, he's been gracious enough to let me come to some of his fights. And I'll never forget this one guy where he was fighting at the Hukila. I can't remember his name. Small guy, but he had two guns tattooed on his belly.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But you want to talk about having that warrior mindset? He was getting the living shit kicked out of him, and he kept getting up and going after him, and next thing you know, he wins. But it got to that point where I was just like, man, this guy better stop, or he's going to be on life support soon. And then it was that one false move on the other guy's part. He capitalized on it, and it was boom. And I remember he came down to say something to the people, because we had front row tickets. And I just said, man, you got the heart of a lion, man. And I think everybody needs to have that heart of a lion. And I know it's not for everybody, but, what is one of your tricks that you do? Like, when you're going to go into the ring, and just before you get into the ring, what do you do to clear your mind and get in that mindset?
So usually it happens before. So like in the back, one of the main things I like to do is like stretch and just like focus on my breathing.
Yep.
So I've been so like the last couple fights is, like I said, it's been over a year now since I fought last because of COVID and surgery. But I've been working on a lot of mental tools, especially with, like, you spoke about meditation. That's huge for me now.
Yeah.
Put a lot, like, whether it's like, I do no more than like 15 minutes a day, right? So it could be 5, could be 15. Just sit down and with your thoughts and like, but my biggest thing is like finding a point to focus on. For me, I realized like a lot of the stuff that goes on is just like flashing back to the past or thinking about what's going to happen in the future, and it's all in my head.
Right.
It's not real. It's not now. Like right now, you ever heard of Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now?
No,
I
not
think it's
yet.
called The Power of Now. Yeah, it's a great book. I would check it out. It's a little redundant, but the point is basically just
Focus on the now.
yeah, that's it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like everything we have is now. Like if you're thinking about what happened, like you're not here. If you're thinking
already
about
done.
what's gonna happen, it's not there. And
Yeah.
you're right. Like that's one thing you learn with martial arts is like if you're thinking about doing something, it's too late. You're behind. You're
Right.
behind timing if you're thinking. That was one thing John Manley taught me. Was he always say, if you're thinking, you're behind timing. And so for me, it's like realizing that that's why you have to train and be consistent. You want to react on timing and you want to see things, like you need to be trained, you need to be prepared. And that, like, I mean, it goes back to being that was one of my main things to go back to the losses is I was underprepared. And that was because I didn't put enough time into the things. I believed that I was too good in one thing. My ego, you have to take your ego, tune it down and say, hey, you're not that good. You need to get better. There's never going to be a time where you're just that good. You need to continue. Like being that good is consistency, being better every single day. That 1% better is like one thing that like a mantra that I hold dear to me. And I don't even try and stop. I don't try and stop there. I try to go further than that because 1%, like that's small. It's good. You want to build on that, but I think you can do more. So that's one thing. I know that wasn't really part of the question, but
No, sure. No, this is the great thing about the podcast. It kind of
It goes where it does.
It goes where it goes.
That's how I am. I'm just like, we could be talking about something crazy next, but
Well, you brought up the word ego. I think that's huge. You don't have an ego. Maybe you do when you get in the ring, but that's appropriate.
Yeah, no, I
You know
think,
what I mean?
yeah, no, ego. I mean, I think that's kind of like part of that dark side too. Like everybody has a dark side, and I think our ego comes from that a lot. I've done a lot of like meditating on ego and like how it is, because MMA is a very selfish sport. And is also during the time of those losses, I was being a very selfish person. It was all about me. I wasn't listening to other people. So that was a huge thing for me. It was like, I thought I knew everything. I might not promote that I know everything, but in my mind for the longest time, I thought I knew everything.
Right.
And, I actually so after I lost the second time, so after I lost the second time, I ended up, deciding that I wanted to leave and go to Europe. So a couple of buddies of mine, we graduated in 2016. This was 2018. So a couple of buddies of mine talked about taking a trip out to Europe and doing like a Euro tour for, I don't know. I believe in, if you're going to travel, go as long as you can. And just like, cause you can just like, that's another topic with the traveling. But like, I was like, I'm going for a month. Like it was decided I'm going for a month.
Yeah.
My buddy was like, he could only get 2 months or 2 weeks off of work. So it made sense for me to go and do the 2 weeks travel around and then meet him in Belgium. I met him in Belgium. We went to France and Amsterdam. So I flew into Amsterdam, went to Germany, like went all around. And so I spent like 3 days in a different country. So every 3 days I change a country or a city.
Yeah.
But it wasn't for just to see a bunch of stuff. It was to escape and think about like, what the fuck am I doing? Sorry if I'm not supposed to.
No,
say
you're
this.
pretty clear.
I just realized I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Sorry
let it
about
rip.
that. Okay. Cool. But I realized that I had to really think about like what I was doing. Like I had to think about like how I was treating people, like how I was acting. Like, the ego was like a huge thing. Like, especially like I said, I just transferred over to Jeremy. And I had like 2 months before I, fought with him, and that I had that second loss. So I didn't have a full time to train and learn from him, but I also wasn't as open as I am now because I wasn't listening. And I actually learned that a lot from my now fiance, because I realized that like she was there and she was trying to help me with things. Like I was really big into drinking and like partying, because like I said, I went to one of the biggest party schools.
Right.
And again, environment's everything. You become that thing when you I was submerged in that culture. Like I wasn't before.
Yeah.
Never drank, never did anything. I was like, I'm going to this party school, and I did it. Became this guy, and and I had to really reconsider like how I was acting, how I was like treating the people around me. Like, am I, and this really opened my eyes to stuff. And I started to like really see like I'm not listening to anybody. I'm not listening to her. I'm not listening to like what my parents are saying. I'm not listening. Like I have this great, I was telling Gina earlier, like I have this great ability to like pick up awareness, but one of my skills that like is listening is just like anything else. It's a skill. You have to work on it.
It's true. It's a muscle.
It's a muscle. It really is.
It truly is.
It's like, it's just the craziest thing that like, I can't believe how many years I went not thinking about how like just listening. And this could have been the reason why I wasn't learning in school. I wasn't listening.
You can listen to learn, or you can listen to reply. There's 2 different ways.
Yeah.
So like you're either like, as someone's talking to you, you can just be thinking about what you're going to say about it,
right?
Or you can just absorb it, give yourself a second. And there's actually, there's if there's a lot of articles that talk about, people like Bill Gates who like they listen so much to absorb and learn that sometimes their reply is so the distance or the time elapsed between like when you're done speaking and their reply is so awkward.
Yeah.
Like you wonder like if
Yeah.
you said something wrong, it's
Right.
because they're truly trying to process. Like they're taking so much in and I think, you know, like I try so hard and I'm still so guilty of it where I'm just like I'm already crafting my response before you're done speaking.
So
You know, and
so
everybody,
human.
it's
So
so human,
human.
you know, but that's everybody's guilty of that, where it's just like, am I
Right.
truly listening to you? You
Right.
know, am I listening to learn and absorb like what you have to offer, you know, in this conversation? Or, you know, am I just going to try to reply because what I have is, you know, maybe I feel it might be more important, back to ego.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, or
Yeah,
can
yeah.
I compliment that in any way instead of like, you know, let that really sink in. Like, what did you just say? We're going to let that stew. I'm going to absorb it and make sure that what I had to say is really relevant or can complement it. And that's a huge takeaway, you know, like, and again, it's all ego based. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, you know,
Yeah.
there's a huge challenge there for everybody.
and that's how we're trained too. Like,
Yeah.
so when we go into do business building, we have this thing where we do the plus sign in the paper and we start writing things down as you're saying, right? So I'm prioritizing everything in that paper as I'm talking, but those pauses, you know, they do get awkward, but that's how we're trained to do. And then we think, and then we respond, because in Jeff's head, he's like, oh, I got the answer. And then, you know, bleh. And then everybody's like, 'cause I remember I went into a business and we do a lot of cold calling. So I walk in and I have this script I like to read before I go in. You know, sit on it for about 5 minutes and then go in. I didn't do it this time. I just walked in like I was distracted with something. Boy, did I have verbal diarrhea. And the look on this person's face that she was like, what the fuck did you just say? And I'm like, I don't know what I just said. I go, do you mind if I come back tomorrow? Because I don't know what the hell I just said to you. And she was cracking up laughing. She's like, yeah, come back tomorrow. And I came back with a coffee for her and her staff. And I said, this is who I am. This is what I do. And this is how I can help. And she's like, wow, what a difference it was yesterday. She goes, I didn't know a word you said because you just, you know, went off 50 million things. But again, it's that listening. And I think when you listen, you absorb things and you become really better and more proficient at what you're doing. You know, I find myself with people that are younger than me saying a lot now, like, hey, when I was your age, I did this, and that's not really something you should be doing. But then again, I think to myself too, when I was that age, I was listening to that guy who was already telling me what to do, going, you don't know what you're talking
Yeah,
about,
fuck this guy.
right? It's weird. And then you get to this point of your life where you finally go, oh,
That's what they were talking about.
The guy knew what he was
Yep.
talking about.
Now I'm that guy.
So as I do business building now, especially with somebody who's younger than me, I really try to force that. Well, I don't try to force it, but try to let them understand, like, hey, I already made these mistakes. We talked about all the mistakes we made in management over the years. Like, people will come to us and go, God, we loved working for you. And you're like, what? I was a prick back then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they're like, no, we liked you for how you managed. And
Yeah. And sometimes it takes 5 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes 10 years. Like, that guy taught me this, and now I'm finally learning it.
Yep.
You know, and, you know, a lot of time it's, well, almost every time it's ego. You know, I mean, the ego of a 19, 20, 25-year-old is, you know, it's strong. And sometimes it's rightfully so.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's, you know, and, a lot, you know, my kids teach me stuff every day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit. You know, and sometimes I try to shut them down, just like when I was 20 years old trying to shut down a 40-year-old. And, you know, now I'm just more humble. We'll go keep revisiting these words that Jeff writes down.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm more apt, and I think some of that comes with life experience. Like, you know, when you start to realize how many times these people have tried to teach you these lessons and you either fought them or disavowed them. And then 10 minutes or 10 years later, you're like, this person really knew what the hell they were talking about.
Yeah.
And it all kind of comes full circle. Yeah. It's wild.
Like, even with Gina, like, your education, you're in front, you're looking at an instructor who, you know, you could very well say, I do it better than you on any other day. But when you listen and you apply what they're doing and understand like that person gets all the new age stuff ahead of
Right.
time and then spreads it out, right?
Right.
But isn't it interesting how you can have an educator come in and you're like captivated by that person, and then someone else will come in later and you're like, no.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely, I try to keep an open mind with all of those things, just because even if it's a class I've attended before, maybe there's something that I missed. So going back to listening and active listening, and, this may not be a new technique or a new, position or a new color, but there might be that one little grain of sand that I missed last time
Yeah.
that I learned this time,
Right. Because that could
And
be a big
that's-
moneymaker for you in the
Right.
long run if you perfected that one little thing,
Right.
Same with you. That one thing could change the whole dynamic of the fight,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
that's it's fascinating to hear. I just find fighting very fascinating, where you can walk in that ring and it's really a barbaric environment at that time, but then when it's done, you got guys hugging and the respect level is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's not like a street fight,
Yeah.
and
Certainly not.
yeah. And I can tell you right now that any street fight I ever had, there was no hugging and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But
And there's
I've,
no real winner.
no,
ever.
no. And I'm very fascinated by that respect level, the dedication to your craft, and you
Yeah.
getting into it. And
Absolutely.
Watching, obviously I haven't been doing it as long as Nate has, but watching Nate, even just in practice, is amazing. Because even in practice, he doesn't stop.
right.
He will not give up.
Yep.
It just, and even when you watch him, like, he'll be dripping sweat, and you think, you're like, oh gosh, is he gonna be done? No. Oh no, he's still going. He's still going. Like, where is this coming from?
Yeah.
And he's just done like 7 different moves in like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
One of the ththings I really loved about FAA, and again, it's been a little while since I've brought my son there, but and I don't know if it's like a requirement of you guys, but you got usually the kids are training and you guys come in later, and then Jeremy just starts snagging you guys, and all of a sudden all the adults, or the older people they're training the younger kids. So it's if you showed up a half hour early, well, now you're just helping the kids. So it starts off with Jeremy and 1 or 2 other people, and they're kind of coaching everybody. And then as people show up and the exercises are increasing, or they're trying to divide people up into further groups, it's all right, well, you grab these people, you grab these people. So I'm curious, is that just an automatic expectation? So what you're doing, you're just going to help out, with the younger kids, or just not even younger kids, just people who can need it. You're just automatically a mentor when you join there, or is that just something you voluntarily, I'm going to help with these people?
Yeah, so it's usually, so for the most part, some of the younger guys like Maddie and Isaiah, Josh Flowers, that's how they, I don't know, they've been with him for a while, and he can't coaching 20 kids or whatever. It's hard to do, for the kids to get the attention, or even somebody who's new to get the attention that they need. So I think just he's been such a mentor for them, and even for me, but you have all these skills, you spend all this time building the skills, and not all of us want to be fighters. Even though I want to be a fighter, at the end of it, I still want to be a mentor to people. That I love that. Being a mentor is so huge and so powerful, and you can have such an impact on someone's life. But just being able to take the time, especially for the kids, the kids who are showing up. One of my mentors, and an old jiu-jitsu coach of mine would always say, I know you're getting in the cage. I know we have to practice the moves that we're teaching you.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to be able to do them right. I want you to be able to be as effective as you can, because it's my responsibility. And it would be a shame for me to learn all this knowledge, to go to all these places, go to Thailand, go to Europe, go to, Colorado, learn from all these people, and then just keep it to myself. It'd be selfish,
Right.
And it would be a waste to not share with the up and coming kids, to be able to protect them. I don't know. Obviously today with the coronavirus has made it hard for kids to go to school. Bullying is probably not as in person bullying, but you'd still want those kids to be prepared for any of that. Prepared to handle whatever situation. It doesn't matter, even if it's whether it's a bully or some crazy fucker that's trying to like hurt you. Like I want these kids to be prepared for anything that could happen to them.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a requirement, Jared. Like if he sees you, he'll ask you, hey, can you help out? And then he'll throw you in, because number one, it's great to teach just because you learn from teaching, but it's great to give back. And also like it makes the process go smoother. Like you don't ever want to have kids just sitting in the corner and like trying something, but they don't get it and you can't get around. If you have 20 kids and one coach to go around, like it's impossible. Like you want to make sure these kids are getting the most effective training and have that somebody they can go to, I think.
Right.
So no, it's not necessarily a requirement, but it is kind of like a social norm, maybe, like to want to like go in and if you're there. And
I've seen it happen, every single time, like without hesitation. He's never pointed at somebody like, as you walk in, or it's like other people walk in and it's like, hey man, grab some pads, get in here. And it happens without fail. I mean, there's never anybody that's like, oh, I don't want to do this. Like I came here to train. It's like, no, I'm going to go help the 10-year-old. And I love that about that place.
Yeah.
Where it's like, there's never a hesitation. And I always wondered that, like, was this part of like you signing up, to be part of it, where it's just like, listen, if you come in, and I'm teaching younger kids, I expect you to join in. And because I see it every single time. It's like, as people show up, like you might be just showing up to work out. And it's like, okay, well, you're going to spend the next 20 minutes helping the younger kids.
Right.
And that's probably my favorite part of going there is like, there's so many people. Like I know Jeremy's there. It's his business. He's there to teach these kids. But there's so many other people that are obviously just there to just not just train, obviously, but, they're part of the gym community. And it's not your job. But you're still doing it. You're still helping everybody else, and that I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. Just as a parent, it's awesome to see like that community in FAA do that. Again, without fail. He's never pointed at someone's like, hey, grab some pads, get in line. Let's work on these moves.
Right. Yep.
And everybody there is just like, doesn't matter who they are. I've never seen anybody say, no, fuck that, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. All right, we are at 2 hours and 16 minutes. It's one of the longer ones.
Yeah.
So it went by so fast, man.
yeah, dude,
Yeah.
it was
So
like,
before we go, I like to do this one quick exercise I find absolutely fascinating. So if you can go to dinner with 3 people from history, famous people, who would it be?
Tony Robbins for sure. I'd love to meet Tony Robbins and Conor McGregor for sure. I love Conor McGregor as well. Anybody in history, or just like who's alive now?
Yeah,
like
dead or alive.
Dead or alive.
dead or alive.
I should have asked that first.
Whatever
but
you're
it's not going to
reason,
change.
too.
It's not going to change.
Yeah, you got to give a reason. So you're 3 people who impacted you enough where you want to sit down and have dinner with them. I always like to do the past, but feel free to put it in your own words and whoever you want.
I'm trying to think. There's a lot of people that I think about, especially because maybe Tom Bilyeu from Impact Theory.
Okay.
Because he's just like a very interesting guy. He does a lot of really good interviews with a lot of people, and he's always trying, same thing, mindset. He's been one huge impact on me for trying to like constantly want to grow and learn and just keep getting better, So I guess off the top of my head, those are the first 3 people that just like popped into my head. So I would go with those 3 for sure.
What about you, Gina?
That's a tough one.
And Captain Morgan is not one of them.
Definitely Abraham Lincoln, because I feel like he was such, with everything going on today, he was definitely a pivotal person in the founding of our country and everything else. Gandhi for the peace and just to hear what he has to say.
Yep.
And just everything and anything. And probably James Dean.
James Dean.
Yeah. I'd love to hear about his viewpoint on being a gay man in that time.
Yeah. I'm sure it wasn't easy, that's for
and
sure.
like being the quintessential macho man.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, had to be wild. And being gay was not something you talk about,
right.
In that time period. That's wild.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that question. I've heard some great things so far, and that's one thing we're going to continue to do that as the podcast goes through.
And it would be remiss if we do not mention, since I shouted out MLK Jr. when I was here
That's right.
for episode 14, but
Yep.
today is
Today's Martin Luther King
Jr.
Day, yeah.
Yes. So, special shout out to that man and, everything he had to say and offer and everything he went through. And, a lot of people of color are still going through. So,
Yeah, absolutely. The fight is real, and hopefully one day we can all be on the same level.
Yeah.
That's the goal, So you want to give so this podcast has been sponsored by...
Podcast is sponsored by IQ Inc., Screen Print Embroidery. Visit us at iq-inc.com. You Can't Handle the Plouf shirt's coming soon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they'll hopefully by the end of the week it'll be done.
Nice.
And also by my son's business, Blue Bee Apparel, who donates 10% of their proceeds, 10% of their profits, rather, to the Honeybee Conservancy. And that's all I got to say about that.
And we're going to talk about bees. The next podcast, we're talking about bees.
I got
I'm
it.
fascinated with bees.
You think 2 hours is long? You want to talk about bees? I got bee talk for you.
We got to find someone else who's just as fascinated with bees. I'm sure they're out there, man, So we learned a lot today. We learned about ego. Definitely. That's a huge one. Being humble. I keep hitting this thing. What comes next is important. I love that. That's going to be something I'm going to talk about with my customers. That's important. We're going to give a shout out to the Fighting Arts Academy. Jeremy, I'm not familiar with Jeremy's last name.
Libashevsky. Yeah.
There we go. I do know him. We talked about it when he first came in. So, Gina, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate your support as always.
Jeff.
Shout out to Ochoa in East Long Meadow in South Hadley. And that's it, man. Episode 15 is a
Great
wrap.
episode.
And I appreciate you guys for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
So we always
Thank you,
give the
Jeff.
peace sign when we leave. So peace.
Peace.